Chapter 1140. They wanted to find the students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 who had Xian Yin Qi in their bodies in the shortest time possible. Test the opponent's profound grade and habits, then filter it in their minds and analyze the most suitable way to deal with the enemy. This was what Yi Qing Luo had taught them. Know yourself and know your enemy, then you can win every battle. The ability to observe and analyze was crucial on the battlefield. But, very quickly, the Devil class students were sweating profusely as they were pushed back by the attacks with great difficulty. Extremely strenuous, extremely pathetic. Because, they realized, the few students from the Intermediate Profound Class 2 who were participating in the competition. All of them had profound Yin Qi in their bodies. Under the situation of hiding their profound grade, facing these students' aggressive attacks, every move aimed at their vital points, it was inevitable that the Devil class students would not be able to withstand it. Even so, the performance of the Devil class students stunned the onlookers. This was totally different from the Devil class who played dirty tricks and scurried around the stage. Although the profound grade was rather low. Although the attack was rather weak. But for the Waste class, to be able to achieve this level was already very good. Yes, very good. At least, it was enough to match the strength of the low profound class. Intermediate Profound Class 2 is thinking. Dong Huang Lang's usual smiling face was filled with worry as he tugged the sleeves of the man next to him. Jing will Devil class. Yes. Qi Yi Jing grabbed his hand with a calm face and indifferent tone. Yes. Dong Huang Lang's pupils suddenly widened. Devil class cannot lose. Student Yi is not back yet. So what? Qi Yi Jing glanced sideways, his cold gaze fell on him. Lang, this is the fate of Devil class. You are not a student of Devil class. Even if you want to help, you have the heart but not the power. Dong Huang Lang pursed his lips. Intermediate Profound Class 2 obviously saw Devil class's teamwork ability. I always thought that Shangguan Luli was a stupid girl like a pig. I didn't expect that. She improved so quickly. Qi Yi Jing's tone of praise was still that emotionless. Indeed, the entire Heavenly Academy, from the elders to the students and staff, they were all extremely curious about Shangguan Luli's change. Ever since Shangguan Luli entered the school, because she was not on good terms with Yi Qing Luo, and her temperament was too arrogant. Most importantly, her brain wasn't working very well. But who would have thought that in just a few short months, Shangguan Liuli had not only changed from a young lady who couldn't even run a few laps during the freshman training, but had also become a powerful high-level profound practitioner. Furthermore, his mind was starting to shine. In the arena, Intermediate Profound Class 2 was entangled with Devil class. The students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 had specially chosen a place. Directly fighting and chasing, he separated the 9 Devil class students by a long distance. The teamwork of the Devil class was simply too strong. He had to separate them and defeat them one by one. This was the tactic of Intermediate Profound Class 2. As long as they did not allow the students of the Devil class to have the chance to cooperate with each other, Devil class could only fall to the ground, raising the white flag and surrender trash. Shangguan Liuli's method was indeed effective. Just as the 9 of them pulled apart from each other, the Devil class students obviously started to be unable to hold on any longer. He couldn't even dodge a simple punch. No one noticed that the 9 Devil class students, before they were pulled apart from each other, exchanged glances. The corners of Shangguan Liuli's mouth curled up into a cold smile, and she retracted her gaze from those trash. She focused all her attention on the Devil class monitor in front of her. This Long Yunzhan was indeed the class monitor of Devil class. Chapter 1141. But the opponent was her. No matter how much ability Long Yunzhan had, he had to kneel down and beg for mercy. Shangguan Luli squinted her sinister eyes as she raised both her hands and drew a semicircle in midair. A wisp of black smoke appeared, and 2 double-edged daggers appeared in her hands. This weapon, it was the weapon of the dark forces. and it used an extremely heavy, profound yin qi. Long Yunjan's long sword flipped, and after forcing out a ray of blue light, he swiftly retreated. At the same time, Shangguan Luli held her dagger and stuck close to him. Long Yunjan didn't manage to retreat too far, and his back was touched by an icy cold blade. His reaction was swift as he turned around and landed in the left corner. Looking back, he saw an intermediate profound Class 2 student holding a broadsword, glaring at him with Yiqing Luo. Intermediate profound Class 2 students, each entangled with a student was enough, and the additional students were to cooperate with Shangguan Luli to subdue Long Yunjan. You're indeed the class monitor of Devil Class, you have some skills. Shangguan Luli sneered. Looks like that slut has trained you bunch of trash. Well, I thought you could end the battle quickly. Long Yunjan didn't respond but squinted his azure blue eyes as he sized up that student. In just a few breaths, he had already wielded his sword and attacked that student. Shangguan Luli sneered in disdain as she flipped her dagger and blocked Long Yunjan's sword qi. But this is interesting. What I like the most is to slowly torture my opponent to death. Today, if you don't admit defeat, I will not stop. Her tone was getting more and more vicious. It made one's hair stand on end when they heard that. The eerie smile had already twisted that delicate little face into a hideous, extremely terrifying sight. But unexpectedly, Long Yunjan's long sword, which was originally thrusting towards that student, as it neared the intermediate profound Class 2 student, a side sweep. It directly brushed past Shangguan Luli's dagger and slashed towards Shangguan Luli's abdomen. The continuous profound qi was like a raging wave, covering the sky and earth. It directly enveloped the both of them. The blue sword qi lingered and the sword ray pervaded. The surrounding air also followed the sword qi's attack. Shangguan Luli's face turned green, and she quickly dodged. No matter how fast he could not avoid being injured by Long Yunjan's sword qi. That sword ray directly brushed past her clothes. A tear appeared on his greenish-white uniform. The torn cloth fell to the ground, revealing the traces of the red moon soil pouch. Even though the sword didn't cause any damage, it was still not enough. But this sword was an insult to Shangguan Luli. She clenched her fists tightly, and her ruthless eyes flashed with intense hatred. Shangguan Luli didn't care about the clothes that had been torn on her abdomen. She gripped her dagger tightly and flashed towards Long Yunjan. The sharp double-edged dagger in his hand pressed against Long Yunjan's neck. Devil Class Monitor. Shangguan Luli clenched her teeth as she spat out these few words. The dagger in his hand had yet to slash across Long Yunjan's neck. She saw that the person she had been entangled with had disappeared like a ghost in the blink of an eye. Her face instantly darkened. This class monitor of the Devil Class had actually embarrassed her twice. The current her was already a high-leveled profound practitioner of the Earth Profound Realm. A piece of trash from the Devil Class had actually caused her to lose face time and time again. Good. Very good. She wanted to see, what other abilities did this class monitor of the Devil Class have? She gave that intermediate profound Class 2 student a look, and the both of them ran towards Long Yunjan's direction at the same time. Chapter 1142. Below the stage, the spectators were completely stunned. This battle made all of them astonished and shocked. Devil Class students. Their reaction to battle is not bad. Although they looked to be in a sorry state and suffered quite a number of injuries, but the speed of their attacks and the reaction to dodge, they totally don't look like students from the Waste Class. Devil Class Monitor is at least in the Mystic Profound 6th level. No, that's not right. It should be even higher. High Profound Class 2's Lu Xuelon, in the Earth Profound Realm, was defeated by Shangguan Luli. He can actually escape unscathed under the siege of Shangguan Luli and another student, attacking and defending freely. Heavens! Devil Class Monitor is so handsome! So handsome! Unknowingly, everyone's gaze had already been attracted by the students of Devil class. But for the so-called waste class trash, to have such a dazzling performance, it made them shocked and amazed. The students at the waiting area of Devil class listened to the praises of those people. They couldn't help but snort coldly in their hearts. Just this level alone was enough to shock these people to no end. Then, if all the students of Devil class collectively released their profound grades, wouldn't they be so shocked that they fainted on the spot? On the stage, the battle was still ongoing. It continued for a full incense worth of time. The result of the battle had yet to be decided. No, it should be said, the result was very obvious. Devil class students were obviously not a match for intermediate profound class 2. But one Long Yunjian led the rhythm of everyone in intermediate profound class 2. Even if there was no team cooperation, but their rhythm was still led by Long Yunjian. Even if they were injured and fell to the ground pathetically, Devil class students still stood up without hesitation and rushed forward again. After being swallowed by the profound yin qi, a few students, their strength and their own overall ability, all received a huge increase. Naturally, their own souls would also be affected by the profound yin qi. As a student, their conscience and the youth's inexperience were all completely swallowed. Right now, they were just tools controlled by the profound yin qi. His attacks without hesitation. His attacks without mercy. His attacks aimed for the vital point. Devil class students, even if they released all their profound grade strength, they might not be the opponents of these tools. Other than Long Yunjian, the other 9 students' faces and bodies were already covered with wounds. Xiao Jin was slightly better off. He was only punched on the left side of his face. As for the other students, their injuries worsened. Every punch or palm strike from these tools, which knew no pain, would mobilize the mysterious yin qi in their bodies. They do not use weapons. He had to rely on his fists and palms. This was the biggest torture to the Devil class. Heavy punches landed on his face and chest. A heavy roundhouse kick landed on the knee and abdomen. Falling down, they picked themselves up again. Not a single one of the Devil class students retreated. No one gave up the chance to continue fighting. They believed in only one thing: persevere, wait for Yi Qing Luo's return. They believed that Yi Qing Luo would definitely rush back. A blood-curdling scream. Yan Xiaoyi's chest was struck and her petite body flew backwards. Xiaoyi! Xiao Jin shouted in panic as he lifted his leg and kicked away the intermediate profound class 2 student who was pestering him, as he sprinted towards the direction of Yan Xiaoyi. He bent down and helped Yan Xiaoyi up. Just as he was about to open his mouth, Yan Xiaoyi stared at his back, her beautiful eyes enlarged as she endured the pain coming from her chest. Be careful. Her arms wrapped tightly around Xiao Jin's neck. Chapter 1143. Bam! With an explosion, a huge hole was blasted open on the ground where the two of them were. Ugh! Yan Xiaoyi's movement had affected the wound on her chest as she groaned in pain. Xiao Jin hugged her tightly as the two of them swiftly stood up. Are you all right? I'm fine. Yan Xiaoyi took a deep breath as she endured the pain from her body. In her beautiful eyes, there was a cold glint as she looked coldly at the two people at the side of the hole. The intermediate profound class 2 students who were entangled with her and the students who were entangled with Xiao Jin. They had already joined forces and were prepared to attack them. Looking at Yan Xiaoyi's pale face, Xiao Jin's eyes were sinister. Someone he couldn't bear to hurt. Intermediate profound class 2 students shouldn't dare to hurt her. Xiao Jin roared as a shocking cold glint shot out from his eyes. A strong gust of air rushed up to the sky. The air in the entire arena congealed into a block. His figure stretched out. He had already charged towards the two students. Both his palms were red, as though they were on fire, directly hitting the chests of the two students. The two students were gloating over the huge destructive power that they had created. A whirlwind was stirred up. It cut their cheeks. Immediately after, the two of them felt a sharp pain in their chests as their bodies flew backward. Before they could react, the two of them fell heavily onto the ground outside of the arena under the pressure of the strong palm chi. The two of them cried out in pain as they rolled on the ground. What did the Devil class students do? That Devil class student struck two intermediate profound class 2 students out of the arena with his bare hands. Heavens! Did you feel that strong profound energy from his body just now? Did you feel it? I don't believe it. I don't dare to believe it. How can a Devil class student be so powerful? Being struck out of the arena meant that these two students had already been eliminated. Just now, Qiao Jin had merely struck out a palm and eliminated two intermediate profound class students. The surrounding crowd stood up agitatedly, unable to believe their own eyes. Just now, the profound energy from Qiao Jin's body was so thick, so strong. Qiao Jin. Yen Xiaoyi clutched her chest, her brows tightly knitted as she approached him from behind. Are you crazy? Just now, he had actually used his full strength to unleash that palm strike. Didn't they already inform him before he stepped onto the dueling ring? Before Yi Qing Luo returned, none of them were to reveal their true abilities? Qiao Jin did not reply. He spread out his hands and stared at them without blinking. He was extremely focused. Yeah, he's crazy. Seeing that Yen Xiaoyi was injured and almost turned into minced meat by those two students from intermediate profound class 2, he went completely crazy. He was already being very rational by not killing the two students on the spot. His fingers curled up one by one. He closed his eyes, and the flames on his body suddenly dissipated. When he opened his eyes again, he looked at the two students who were being carried off the stage by the doctors and asked in a trembling voice, I did it? After all, they had been friends for many years. Yen Xiaoyi saw through Qiao Jin's plan with one look. She immediately agreed and raised her voice. Yes, you eliminated two students. When did you become so powerful? I don't know. Qiao Jin was at a loss. He retracted both his hands with a look of disbelief on his face. This situation made the onlookers, who were originally very excited, also quiet down. Could it be that the energy that Devil class had unleashed earlier was merely an explosion of rage? Chapter 1144. The potential of humans was beyond human imagination. In a moment of rage, in a moment of crisis, etc., in order to protect themselves or protect someone or something, they would erupt with strength that was several times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times stronger than usual. It was all because of a belief. Of course, after the eruption, the profound practitioner's own strength would also be exhausted in that instant. Just now, was it because the Devil class students were desperate for survival, that's why they exploded with such a strong force and eliminated two students from the intermediate profound class 2? That was the only excuse. Only then could it make those onlookers who didn't have high hopes for the Devil class feel a little better. Trash students of Devil class, how could they have such strong and dense profound energy? No matter how he thought about it, it was impossible. Yes, they could only accept the Survival Valley's unexpected outburst. On the stage, Qiao Jin did not have much time to spare, so he continued his performance. Although two students had been eliminated, the score was now 8-9. However, it was unable to change the situation on the stage. The student who had been attacking Long Yunzhan with Shangguan Liuli had already retreated, the large blade in his hand directly slashing towards Qiao Jin's face. Profound practitioners would exhaust all of their strength after erupting. Take advantage of this moment to injure Qiao Jin. They could directly eliminate Qiao Jin from the competition. Yen Xiaoyi caught a glimpse of the long saber, which was clearly overflowing with a treacherous and cold yin qi. Her heart tightened. If he allowed this weapon, which had been eroded by the mysterious yin qi, to cut his skin, it was highly possible that the mystical yin qi was channeled into his body through his wounds and blood. She quickly wrapped her arms around Qiao Jin's firm waist. Extending his feet, he was about to display the set of footwork that Yi Qing Luo had taught him. However, Qiao Jin's speed was faster than her. In just a moment, the two of them had already used that set of footwork to quickly disappear in front of the attacking student. "How could I let you protect me?" A low and hoarse voice rang beside Yan Xiaoyi's ears. Yan Xiaoyi's eyelashes trembled slightly, her delicate body, which was being hugged tightly by the man's arm, stiffened slightly. He didn't need her protection. What he wanted was the protection of another person. She looked down to hide the pain in her eyes. Suddenly feeling the downcast mood of the person in his arms, Qiao Jin furrowed his brows and lowered his eyes in confusion. He was saying sweet nothings. It was a serious flirtatious remark. Normally, when a girl heard this, wouldn't she throw herself into his arms shyly? Why was it that when it came to Yan Xiaoyi, it made her feel conflicted towards him? Qiao Jin, who had a baffled look on his face, had no time to think. The next wave of attacks had already arrived. A bunch of trash, but their willpower is quite strong. Shangguan Liuli looked at the situation. Even though she had lost 2 students, she did not panic. In any case, in this match, Intermediate Profound Class 2 would definitely win. Now, she was not using her full strength. He just wanted to torture the Devil Class. He could defeat the Devil Class in minute. After going through so much trouble with the Devil Class, they had fought till the very end in exhaustion. When they thought that they would be able to win, the tables were turned in one move. Which one was more painful to the point of wishing for death? Shangguan Liuli sneered, still waiting for Yi Qing Luo, that little slut, to return? Hearing Yi Qing Luo's name, the eyes of the usually expressionless Long Yunzhan flickered slightly. The long sword in his hand swept up a blue wave of air as his attacks were swift and fierce. Shangguan Liuli quickly dodged. His figure was like a ghost. Chapter 1145. Long Yunzhan's eyes suddenly turned cold and frosty. The long sword in his hand was also stained with a thick chill. He directly flicked away the dagger that was close to him and flipped the long sword. The blue sword chi shone brilliantly. A cracking sound was heard. The double-blade dagger suddenly broke. The black chi dispersed. Shangguan Liuli's expression sunk as she staggered backwards. Before she could steady herself, she saw that blue sword ray sweeping out from the long sword. Like a huge blue dragon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, it instantly tore a huge pit on the stage between them. The blue dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws, devouring Shangguan Liuli malevolently. Angry? Shangguan Liuli couldn't help but laugh. Your thoughts were exposed and you flew into a rage out of humiliation? She raised the other double-blade dagger, blocking the blue dragon's charge. She raised her leg and stomped hard on the stage, contending against the blue dragon. Unfortunately, little brother, the person you are waiting for will never return. Shangguan Liuli smiled sinisterly, smiling till her eyebrows curved, looking even more ruthless. The profound yin qi in her body was activated. The palm wind stirred up a violent hurricane. A loud boom sound was heard. Shangguan Liuli had already held the double-blade dagger in her hand, directly cutting that illusory blue dragon into 2 halves. Shangguan Liuli flew up, laughing venomously. My lord has already arranged everything, waiting for her there. Once she goes over, Yi Qing Luo, that little slut, won't dare to not return. She felt extremely carefree. These people were all Yi Qing Luo's dogs. She wanted to torture these dogs, one by one, until they were crippled, and then bring them in front of Yi Qing Luo. Let her see with her own eyes how she tormented these dogs, bit by bit, to death. The more she thought, the more intense the madness in Shangguan Liuli's eyes became. Long Yunzhan's hand, which was holding the long sword, suddenly stiffened. A trace of coldness, like 10,000 years of ice, flickered in his eyes. The icy cold voice, like frost, every word, was like an icicle, piercing into one's heart. Say it again. After Shangguan Liuli forced Long Yunzhan's illusory blue dragon back, she flew a few steps back. She was extremely leisurely. With her current strength, even if she was alone, it was enough to defeat everyone in Devil class. Even if I repeat it 10 times, 100 times, the truth will still be the same. Shangguan Liuli giggled, thinking of Yi Qing Luo's miserable look when she was tortured by the Lord. The more excited she felt. She was already imagining it. Once the competition was over, he would rush over to the Lord's place. She should be able to let Yi Qing Luo witness with her own eyes how she destroyed everything she had. Even though she knew it was a trap, Yi Qing Luo, that little slut, still went without hesitation. She chuckled with extreme disdain. She can only blame herself for being stupid. Women didn't need any extra feelings. Because once a woman had feelings, she would no longer be decisive and decisive. Therefore, she abandoned her feelings. Her only motive was to be above Yi Qing Luo, to step on her fiercely. He did not hesitate to use his own soul, his own resentment, as a condition for the exchange. In exchange for the help of the dark forces. She liked her current self very much. Strong enough, whether it was the students of the class or the high profound class. After seeing her, the disdain and disgust from before had turned into respect. This was the glory that ability brought to her. A woman like you will never understand. Long Yunzhan's expression was indifferent, as he squinted his sharp blue icy eyes. This wasn't stupid. But because of feelings. Chapter 1146. If the same thing happened to him, the dark forces would use any student of Devil class as a threat. Even if he knew that the other party had planned this beforehand and had set up all sorts of traps, he would still go forward without hesitation. Because, if anything happened to the students he cared about, he would live in regret for the rest of his life. Because he cared about them. This kind of feeling, for a stupid girl like Shangguan Liuli who only knew how to achieve her own goals, she would never understand. She will definitely come back. Long Yunzhan's tone was firm, confident and without any hesitation. His eyes were cold, his long sword swept. The sword ray blossomed brightly. Ah! Shangguan Liuli's shoulder was pierced by his sudden sword. Her little face instantly turned pale. The blue sword qi was still lingering on the wound on her shoulder. With a slight movement it affected her muscles, causing waves of throbbing pain. Damned Devil class! How dare they hurt her? Good. Very good. Since the class monitor of Devil class wanted to die so much, she would grant them their wish. Let them fall to the ground in a state of despair. Shangguan Liuli's eyes flashed. Rays of profound yin qi wantonly moved from the bottom of her eyes. In an instant, her entire body was covered with thick profound qi. One wave overshadowed the other. One wave overshadowed the other. The entire arena set off huge waves on the outer layer. The air waves were monstrous. Billowing smoke curled up. Below the arena, the spectators who were blocked by the barrier, although they were not affected by the profound qi on the arena. But they could clearly feel the air waves around Shangguan Liuli. How aghast it was. Butler Shangguan, unable to control the excitement in his heart, stood up abruptly and shouted in amazement, "Earth Profound Level 1. Earth Profound Level 2. Earth Profound Level 3. Yes. Shangguan Liuli's profound rank was rising rapidly. One grade after another, it jumped up. It shocked Butler Shangguan so much that he wanted to stand on the table, singing loudly without caring about his image. In the end, Shangguan Liuli's profound rank stopped at Earth Profound Level 5. Her breathing gradually stabilized. Earth Profound Level 5. Earth Profound Level 5. Shangguan Liuli, a student of Intermediate Profound Class 2. He had actually become a 5th grade Earth Xian. Shangguan Liuli's profound rank had been stable at the 5th level of the Earth Profound Realm since the first few rounds of the preliminary round. All of a sudden, it rose 5 ranks in a row. Everyone's jaws dropped in shock. My jaw almost dropped to the ground. What kind of freak is this? The Shangguan clan's fifth young mistress actually possessed such formidable strength. Teacher Ren from Intermediate Profound Class 2 was also stunned. Your Intermediate Profound Class 2 actually has a 5th level Earth Profound Realm student. Why didn't you say so earlier? The High Profound Class 1 teacher nudged the teacher beside him. Earth Profound 5th grade. Their High Profound Class 1 losing to Intermediate Profound Class 2 wasn't an injustice. The teacher of Intermediate Profound Class 2 shook his head in astonishment. I don't know. In Intermediate Profound Class 2's teacher Ren's heart, he actually didn't have a good impression of this capricious and troublemaking 5th Miss Shangguan. The memories of Shangguan Liuli. It also stopped at the time when she formed cliques in the class, and recklessly threw a tantrum. He didn't expect that she was so strong now. As the teacher of a class, he basically checked every student's waist tag every 3 days to confirm the changes in the student's strength. Shangguan Liuli's profound rank, since entering Intermediate Profound Class 2, had been stagnant at Mystic Profound Level 5. Chapter 1147. It was a month ago, after the Academy's vacation. Shangguan Liuli seemed to have an epiphany. There was a qualitative leap in her profound grade. The person was still the arrogant, willful, arrogant and rude Shangguan Liuli. However, her strength was invisibly matched with her arrogance. Earth Profound Grade. This was the last profound grade that the teacher knew. This was the last profound grade test before setting off from the Academy to the West Lawn Square. The Academy's wooden token would not have the slightest bit of falsehood. Nor would it conceal the student's profound grade. That was to say, in less than a day, Shangguan Liuli had directly advanced from the early stage of the Earth Profound Realm to the 5th stage of the Earth Profound Realm. No. Impossible. No one could do it in such a short period of time, to advance so many grades in succession. Could it be? Shangguan Liuli's Academy wooden token had a problem? Right. It was very likely that there was a problem with the Academy wooden token. The teacher looked at the arena with trepidation. Intermediate Profound Class 2 was at an advantage, but he didn't feel excited or proud at all. He only felt an extremely strange feeling pervaded the bottom of his heart. On the arena, Long Yunzhan had hidden his strength at this time, but his perceptive ability had far surpassed Shangguan Liuli's. As soon as he felt Shangguan Liuli's action, he quickly retreated and was not hurt by the force of Shangguan Liuli. The long sword fiercely stabbed into the arena. Using the sword as a support, he stabilized his body. Raging winds and huge waves, his azure blue eyes were still clear. Quietly staring at Shangguan Liuli, who was still roaring, still shouting, his eyes were cold. Using profound Yin Qi, dark force objects to participate in the competition. This was originally a big taboo in all the competitions in the Nirvana realm. Just like when Yi Qing Ling used the profound Yin sword to participate in the assessment. It was considered a violation of the rules. Shangguan Liuli and the students of Intermediate Profound Class 2 dared to use it openly in the arena. Because they hid the profound Yin Qi in their bodies. If not for the battle with them, absolutely could not feel the existence of this power. Not right. Even if it was against them, those who did not know would not suspect that the sudden strong power was the profound Yin Qi of the dark force. Shangguan Liuli actually used the Xian Yin Qi to directly raise her Xian rank to the 5th level of the Earth Xian realm. Wasn't she afraid that the elders of the main courtyard would discover the mysterious Yin Qi? Wasn't she worried that this body of hers simply wouldn't be able to withstand the profound strength of the Earth Profound Realm? Wasn't she afraid of self-detonation? Shangguan Liuli answered these questions with her own actions. At the 5th grade of the Earth Profound Realm, the Qi waves were monstrous. His attacks were decisive and ruthless. It was as if he was a completely different person. They had been replaced by tools controlled by the mysterious Yin energy. A tool to defeat the devil class. Such a Shangguan Liuli, Even if the Devil class students released their true profound energy, they might not be able to defend against her. Long Yunjan was forced to the edge of the stage several times. Devil class's disadvantage was becoming more and more obvious. However, even if these students were forced to retreat, even if their bodies were riddled with wounds, they would not give up. Every time they arrived at the edge of the arena, they would pounce forward as if they'd gone mad in an attempt to turn the situation around. I will not admit defeat. He would never lose. Long Yunjan could completely restrain Earth Profound Realm cultivators who were at the 5th grade. But the other students in the Devil class could not be compared to the stronger students from the Intermediate Profound Class 2. After a few rounds of fighting, Devil class students only had one belief in their hearts. Chapter 1148. Once she lost, Yiqing Luo would have to face broken meridians and the blood oath of destroying her profound jade heart. They couldn't afford to lose. Devil class's students became braver the more they fought, without any fear. Even though they were covered in wounds, they climbed up once again to face the attacks from the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students and retaliated. A few of the students had already secretly released their true strength. But this didn't change the situation of Devil class. Long Yunjan and Shangguan Liuli were entangled together. Shangguan Liuli, who was at the 5th stage of the Earth Profound Realm, had already become a killing tool. Every move was fatal. Long Yunjan couldn't be like before, fighting with Shangguan Liuli while observing the situation of Devil class's students. Below the ring, from the amazement of Shangguan Liuli's sudden rise in profound rank, they were gradually infected by the atmosphere of the desperate battle between the two sides. Finally, they saw Devil class's students. After falling down time and time again, they climbed up again and again, fearlessly charging towards their opponents. No one cried out in pain. No one admitted defeat. Fresh blood oozed out and their faces turned purple. Even so, it couldn't hide the pair of crystal-clear eyes. Determination, faith. Hoarse voices came out from their mouth. They said every word, an oath that touched their hearts. The world is not dead, we will not surrender. This was what countless of them lacked. But today they saw it in a class that they had always looked down on. The world is not dead, we will not surrender. What kind of willpower did they have to be able to say such words? Her heart inexplicably felt sorry for Devil class's students. The gaze towards Devil class was no longer the mockery and ridicule. Especially those students who were originally watching a joke. One by one they stopped talking, their hearts were filled with shock. Acutely sensing the surrounding atmosphere, it was obviously different from the previous passionate worship towards her. Shangguan Liuli looked coldly below the stage, sweeping her gaze around. Even the eyes of the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students were sparkling with tears, as if they were touched, as they looked deeply at the Devil class. Just a bunch of trash. On what basis did they win the hearts of the various forces? This was a place that revered power. Without power, even if they could resist, what was the use? What was there to be shocked about? What was there to be touched about? Just a bunch of trash. Anger, burning wantonly. Profound chi surged violently. Boom, boom, boom. Profound energy that hid the sky and covered the earth enveloped the entire arena. The wind howled and the hurricane stirred. The violent collision and explosion of profound energy caused an indescribable shock to rise in one's heart. Ah, bang! The sound of heavy objects landing on the ground was extremely obvious in the tumbling waves. The surrounding Devil class students were all sent flying to the ground. A few students were unable to withstand Shangguan Liuli's sudden burst of energy. He clutched his chest and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. All of them lay on the ground, their faces pale. Ha ha! A bunch of trash, a bunch of ant. You want to compete with the sun and moon? Shangguan Liuli laughed maniacally. The mysterious yin qi flowing in the depths of his eyes had already covered the whites of his eyes. She didn't try to hide it. There was no need to hide it anymore. What interclass competition? What do you mean by champion? She was not interested. What she wanted was to see Yi Qing Luo suffer for the rest of her life. As long as he could torture these students of devil class till they were unrecognizable, then bring them to his lord. In front of Yi Qing Luo, he killed all these people one by one. That was enough. Anyway, her entire life had already been handed over to the dark forces. Don't worry, I will bring all of you who are living a life worse than death to meet that slut Yi Qing Luo. Profound Qi stirred once again. Shangguan Liuli's sleeves tugged and directly rapped the few powerless devil-class students on the ground. Just at this moment, a bewitching red glow suddenly shot out. Chapter 1149. A few devil-class students instantly fell onto the ground. Shangguan Liuli missed and her expression sunk. The sinister smile on her face slowly congealed on her face. That red glow was bewitching and glaring. Following that, a flame-like feather fan sped over. Like a leaping flame, it blossomed with the most beautiful splendor in midair. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The spinning sound of the feather fan drew a deafening piercing sound in the air. It shook the entire arena, causing it to shake continuously. That piercing sound was filled with a biting cold murderous intent. It completely overshadowed all the discussions in the arena, overshadowed the Shangguan family's jubilant cheers. Between heaven and earth, it was as though there was only that voice left. Like thunder, a voice that shook the heaven and earth. The feather fan directly closed in on Shangguan Liuli. A strong aura instantly enveloped the entire arena. Air waves raged, flames burned wantonly, stacking layer upon layer. Shangguan Liuli instinctively turned sideways, trying to avoid that feather fan's attack. Even without the profound Yin Qi's control, she also wanted to avoid the feather fan. She had a hunch that if she was struck by this feather fan, she would absolutely die. Ah, her feet had just moved. That nearing feather fan suddenly transformed into numerous fangs and claws, roaring angrily. It directly entangled Shangguan Liuli entirely within. This was obviously an illusory fire dragon. But unfortunately, the temperature of the fire dragon was so real that Shangguan Liuli felt that she was about to be roasted. She could even smell the fragrance of meat on her body. The feather fan was still encircling Shangguan Liuli's body, revolving continuously. The air waves stacked, as the imposing manner became stronger and stronger. The entire arena's air was completely controlled by that feather fan. Qing Luo. It's boss Qing Luo. Madam Qing Luo. Joyful voices were heard from those devil-class students. Those students who were originally suppressed by Shangguan Liuli's strong imposing manner all started to climb up, their eyes filled with joy. In Devil Class's waiting area, all the students had already stood up. Their eyes were filled with joy, some even cried out in agitation. That was Yi Qing Luo's glower flame fan. That powerful energy, familiar and warm. That was Yi Qing Luo's energy. She was back. She really came back safe and sound. They had finally waited for their boss Qing Luo. Hearing Devil Class's students' wild and ecstatic shouts, everyone's vision was fixed on the red feather fan that had suppressed Shangguan Liuli to the point where she could not resist at all. His heart tightened little by little. He was shocked. He had heard of Yi Qing Luo's powerful ability, heard that Yi Qing Luo possessed the divine dragon and the sacred beast White Tiger. How could a 15-year-old girl be so powerful? But seeing it with his own eyes was a different kind of shock. This kind of shock was far more shocking than the news of Shangguan Liuli being a 5th-grade Earth Xian. Shangguan Liuli, who was entangled by the fire dragons, felt as if her consciousness was being devoured by the countless fire dragons. She couldn't breathe. The moment he breathed in, his nostrils were filled with a scorching hot air. She couldn't open her eyes. By the side of her ears, numerous people were shouting Yi Qing Luo's name. Her delicate body, which was unable to move, suddenly stiffened. Yi Qing Luo? How could Yi Qing Luo possibly appear? That woman had fallen into his lord's trap. Wasn't it impossible for that woman to come back alive? Why did she rush over to the competition venue? Numerous fire dragons kept tightening, twisting. Shangguan Liuli, do you want revenge? In her mind, that familiar hoarse voice rang coldly. She shut her eyes in pain. Chapter 1150. This voice clearly knew the desire in her heart. This voice gave her the strength she had now, giving her enough ability to stand here and receive the envious and respectful gazes from everyone. Want revenge? Yes. It was because of her desire for revenge that she had sold her soul to the dark forces without any hesitation. She wanted to obtain powerful strength, to crush Yiqing Luo under her body, making her unable to turn over. This was her chance to prove herself. This was her chance to make a name for herself. She must not let Yiqing Luo destroy everything that she had sacrificed her soul for. Yes, I want revenge. I want to destroy Yiqing Luo, to see her living a life worse than death. A strong hatred filled her body and mind. A burst of profound yin qi completely wrapped her up. Power, a steady stream of power, flowed violently in her body. It was the power that she longed for. Shangguan Liuli greedily absorbed that power, expanding her profound qi again and again. Earth Profound 6th grade. What is that? The elder stood up suddenly, pointed to the stage, and his expression changed. That student named Shangguan Liuli, how dare she cheat in the competition? Such a dense dark aura brought with it a chill that made one's hair stand on end. Thinking back to the dark forces that had been spreading in the Nirvana realm in the past few days, the elder's face sunk. What a great heavenly academy! For a competition, they didn't hesitate to make a deal with the dark forces. No matter how I look, I feel that there is something wrong with this student, Shangguan Liuli, a young girl. How could she burst from the Earth Profound realm to the Earth Profound 5th grade in an instant? Shangguan family is too much. How dare she cheat in front of our elder? Is she disregarding the headquarters, disregarding the other academies, disregarding the various forces? Intermediate Profound Class 2 disqualified. The Academy does not accept any form of cheating in the competition. The elder gritted his teeth, filled with righteous indignation. The student dared to cheat in front of them. Obviously she did not put the headquarters in their eyes. Elders, calm down. This student absolutely would not be so silly to cheat in front of you. There must be a reason behind this. The director panicked, cursing Shangguan Liuli in his heart for not being able to control the profound yin qi because of anger, ruining his plan. Now that things had already happened, he had to think of a way to remedy it. What else is there to say? This old man saw it with my own eyes. How can it be fake? The dean wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. Look, just now the devil class students were so defeated that they couldn't even put up a fight. How could they suddenly be able to move? And isn't student Yiqing Luo back? At this point, he stopped talking. The best way was to stop where it was appropriate. Sure enough, one of the elders from the main institute furrowed his brows and nodded thoughtfully. Indeed. Since Shangguan Liuli is cheating, how could she be so foolish as to show it in front of everyone without holding anything back? On the contrary, classmate Yi. His gaze surveyed the surroundings, but he didn't see Yiqing Luo at all. Yiqing Luo had suddenly returned. Shangguan Liuli unleashed the power of the dark forces. How could things be so coincidental? In the direction of the general courtyard, everyone was already arguing with their own opinions. A clear and melodious voice, like pearls falling onto a plate, sweet and melodious. Devil classes Yiqing Luo returns. Dressed in a fiery red robe, he drew a beautiful afterglow in the sky. Chapter 1151. The strong airwave wantonly blew against the young lady's skirt. 3,000 black hair swayed along with the wind, as though stepping on a bunch of cherry red petals, stepping on the air. The young lady slowly landed on the arena. Following that, she raised her arm high. That glower flame fan which was revolving around Shangguan Liuli flew a few rounds and returned to her palm. Her slender fair fingers, one by one, gripped the glower flame fan tightly. As it blended with that red flame, it looked especially captivating. The entire West Lake Square seemed as though it had been rehearsed previously. It fell into a dead silence. No one opened their mouth to speak. It was Yi-Ching Luo. She was back. This devil class's students, treated as their faith, even if she was riddled with scars, they still had to hang on. This genius young lady who was discussed by various forces, who wanted to rope her in, wanted to subdue her. This mysterious and powerful existence. She rushed back at the most crucial moment of the competition. This competition, could there be room for a reversal? Numerous people's hearts inexplicably surged with a firm belief. It seemed like Yi-Ching Luo rushed back in time. She definitely had this ability to reverse the situation. Obviously, the majority of the various forces did not know Yi-Ching Luo's ability, and only felt that the matter of Yi-Ching Luo subduing the divine dragon sacred beast was merely an exaggeration. But unfortunately, after seeing Yi-Ching Luo, they inexplicably believed that Yi-Ching Luo had this ability. Perhaps it was because they were infected by Devil Class's strong willpower, or perhaps they were infected by Devil Class's spirit. Devil Class firmly believed in Yi-Ching Luo. They also subconsciously firmly believed in Yi-Ching Luo. This was a kind of spirit, a kind of enough to subdue numerous cultivators' spirit. In the direction of the main courtyard, the silent Senior Mo looked calmly at Yi-Ching Luo. That blossoming cherry blossom, that enchanting figure, made him frown slightly. His vision subconsciously swept towards Devil Class's waiting area. Indeed, in the crowd, he discovered that half-masked, dressed in purple robe man, elegantly leaning against the wooden chair, showing a languid expression. The expressionless face finally heaved a sigh of relief. She finally rushed back. In the end, Di-Zun had successfully brought her back. In the arena, after Yi-Ching Luo kept the glower flame fan, the fire dragon which was coiling around Shangguan Liuli also gradually dispersed. Shangguan Liuli gasped for air, and her legs gave way as she fell to the ground. The sinister eyes that were suffused with black qi stared coldly at Yi-Ching Luo. He was in such a sorry state, yet he refused to admit defeat. Yi-Ching Luo sneered, the corners of her lips curled into an enchanting arc, revealing a trace of gloomy chill. Just based on you, you dare to call yourself Sun Moon? She slowly walked towards Shangguan Liuli. He lifted his leg and stepped on Shangguan Liuli's chest. He exerted a little force. Shangguan Liuli let out a muffled groan, and her body fell heavily to the ground. She did not have the strength to resist. Today, in front of all the powerhouses, I will tell you how the brilliance of my Devil Class students pierces your eyes. He was exerting force and moving his toes on her chest bit by bit. A heart-wrenching pain came from his chest. His internal organs seemed to have been trampled into meat paste by Yi-Ching Luo's feet. She spat out blood, painfully struggling to avoid Yi-Ching Luo's feet. Painful. Yi-Ching Luo's brows rose, smiling like a flower. Painful is right, you will be in more pain soon. Shangguan Liuli wanted to torture Devil Class students to a living hell. Then, she would fulfill Shangguan Liuli's evil interest. Living a life worse than death, right? Chapter 1152. Shangguan Liuli was in so much pain that she had no strength to struggle. The direction that Yi-Ching Luo stepped on was coincidentally her heart. Yi-Ching Luo fiercely suppressed the profound jade heart. Shangguan Liuli did not even have the strength to circulate her profound qi. If she insisted on circulating her profound qi, I'm afraid Yi-Ching Luo would not hesitate to crush her heart. Why did Yi-Ching Luo rush back to take part in the competition? Didn't the Lord say that as long as Yi-Ching Luo went to rescue Yi Fengyu, it would be a one-way trip? Why, but Yi-Ching Luo appeared here. He had arrived at the most crucial moment. Due to the sudden increase in her Xian Yin Qi, her profound level continued to rise. It completely disrupted her rhythm of absorbing the mysterious yin qi. It also caused the xianyin qi in her body to be completely disrupted. Otherwise, how would Yi Qing Luo have the chance to step on her chest? Yi Qing Luo, you dare! You dare to do this in front of so many people! Shangguan Liuli's voice was hoarse as she saw the murderous intent in Yi Qing Luo's eyes. She didn't want to die. Before Yi Qing Luo died, she didn't want to die. There were elders from the main institute and representatives from the various powers and academies. She didn't believe that Yi Qing Luo dared to kill her under everyone's watchful eyes. Yi Qing Luo smiled even more enchanting. So what if I kill you? Intermediate Profound Class 2's Shangguan Liuli colluded with the Dark Forces and attempted to bring the Dark Forces into the Academy's territory. Furthermore, she assisted the Dark Forces and harmed the Academy's interests for the Dark Forces. Furthermore, she deceived the Academy's headquarters. I'm doing this for the sake of the people. Why can't I? Her words were spoken slowly and calmly. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone on the dueling ring could hear him clearly, as well as the elders of the General Academy. Shangguan Liuli lay stiffly on the ground. The black qi in her eyes was like black smoke, flowing continuously in her pupils. Hatred, resentment, jealousy, all kinds of emotions shot out from her eyes. You're talking nonsense. Shangguan Liuli suppressed the fear in her heart. She controlled the mystical yin qi very well. Even if she used the mystical yin qi to raise her profound rank in a short period of time, she still controlled it very well. It was impossible for the old men in the headquarters to discover her connection with the dark forces. At this moment, Shangguan Liuli didn't notice at all. Black smoke-like energy had already spilled out of her eyes. Strand by strand, they wrapped around her body. This was the profound yin qi, helping her to resist Yi Qing Luo's restraint. Once Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart was suppressed by Yi Qing Luo's feet. Shangguan Liuli had no room to retaliate. The outcome of this match would soon be revealed. Shangguan Liuli could not lose. At this moment, the students from both sides who were still in the arena had already climbed up from the ground. Intermediate Profound Class 2, including Shangguan Liuli, there were still 6 students left. Devil Class, including Yi Qing Luo, there were a total of 10 students. However, there were already 3 students whose internal organs had been shaken by Shangguan Liuli's profound stage aura, and they had lost the ability to fight. They supported each other as they stood behind Yi Qing Luo, looking at each other. Go back and rest. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways as her peripheral vision shot a glance at the pale-faced Long Yunzhan. She looked away, and a trace of anger flashed through her eyes. They clearly had the strength to withstand the attacks from Shangguan Liuli and the rest of the intermediate Profound Class 2 students. Why did he have to make himself look like this? Hiding their strength was indeed the suggestion that she had suggested earlier. But compared to hiding their strength and exploding their strength, to slap those people who looked down on them, their safety was the most important, alright? It was actually because of her suggestion earlier. This group of people actually hid their strength, even at the last moment they didn't explode. Chapter 1153. Inexplicably, her eyes felt a little warm. She pursed her lips and lowered her voice. After the competition ends, all of you will receive your punishment. Long Yunzhan and the rest were stunned. Originally they wanted to refuse to leave the stage, not wanting Yi Qing Luo to fight alone. But after hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, all the words of rejection were stuck in their throat. Long Yunzhan clenched his fists tightly as his gaze swept past those students who couldn't even stand properly. Finally, he lowered his eyelids and said calmly, "All the best." Saying that, he turned around and leapt off the stage without looking back. The class monitor had already jumped off the stage to forfeit the competition. The other students naturally followed suit. This action made the crowd a little puzzled. Is the devil class going to give up? Why are all of them jumping off the stage? Hasn't their belief, Yi Qing Luo, that genius young lady, rushed back? Why are they still forfeiting? Don't tell me they are all scared silly by the intermediate profound Class 2's ability and don't dare to continue the battle. Numerous questioning voices were extremely clear in the crowd. The more they said, the more they got the support of numerous people. They were all certain that Devil Class students were terrified and didn't dare to continue the battle, so all of them fled. Isn't Yi Qing Luo still standing on the stage? Looking at the current situation, Devil Class obviously has the upper hand. Don't tell me. Yi Qing Luo wants to fight 1 against 6? Seems like Yi Qing Luo intends to do that. Devil Class students had already jumped off the stage and returned to the waiting area, whereas Yi Qing Luo was still standing on the stage alone. According to the preliminary round rules, as long as there was a class of students on the stage, then that class wouldn't lose. Which meant to say, as long as Yi Qing Luo fought 1 against 6 and defeated Shangguan Liuli and the other 5 students from Intermediate Profound Class 2, she would still be the winner of the 3rd round. Is Yi Qing Luo looking for a beating? Didn't the Academy say earlier that the Profound Qi released by 5th Miss Shangguan is already an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator? Yi Qing Luo seems to be an Earth Profound 4th grade cultivator? The difference between 2 grades. As long as 5th Miss Shangguan has a chance to stand up, Yi Qing Luo has no chance to retaliate. Everyone was guessing the situation on the stage. Above the 6th grade of the Mystic Profound Realm, it was extremely difficult to advance even 1 grade. Not to mention the Earth Profound Realm, which could be counted as an expert. It was very likely that an ordinary person would be stuck for 10 or 20 years and still not be able to successfully advance a grade. Earth Profound 4th grade Yi Qing Luo was very powerful, but Earth Profound 6th grade Shangguan Liuli could obviously rely on the difference of 2 grades to completely crush Yi Qing Luo. No pressure at all. Yi Qing Luo was the first to stipulate that she was not allowed to use her Battle Pets clan leader in this competition. No wonder Yi Qing Luo directly stepped on Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart the moment she came up. He had no choice but to admit that Yi Qing Luo's reaction and decisiveness was indeed admirable. Just as the crowd were discussing fervently, feeling that Yi Qing Luo's stomp was just right. But he saw Yi Qing Luo slowly moving her feet away. Moved away? The onlookers were dumbfounded. Holy shit! This was the only way to suppress Shangguan Liuli. Why did she give up on it? Could it be that she had overheard their discussion and felt that she had an unfair advantage, so she wanted to defeat Shangguan Liuli fair and square? This young lady. Was she crazy? Letting go of Shangguan Liuli was equivalent to sending herself to death. Why was this young lady so stubborn? Chapter 1154. Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to understand the cries of the onlookers and couldn't wait to rush up the stage to stop her from releasing her leg. She looked calm as she released her grip on Shangguan Liuli's chest and turned back to the other side of the stage, widening the distance between the two. The moment the suppression of the profound jade heart was released, Shangguan Liuli quickly got up from the ground and stuck close to the direction of the students from the Intermediate Profound Class 2. Looking up, what came into view was Yi Qing Luo's dashing back. Shangguan Liuli frowned. Yi Qing Luo deliberately let her go. But why? Yi Qing Luo had no reason to do so. He chased his helper off the stage and loosened his grip on her. It was as the onlookers guessed. Yi Qing Luo wanted to fight 1 against 6? Yi Qing Luo was looking down on her? The darkness in Shangguan Liuli's eyes became more and more intense. A surge of anger rose from the bottom of her heart. Great! Yi Qing Luo, since you don't know what's good for you, if I don't beat you till you kneel and beg for mercy, my reputation will be ruined. My name is not Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli secretly said in her heart. Immediately, Shangguan Liuli clenched the only remaining double-edged dagger. Her figure flashed and directly stuck close to Yi Qing Luo's back. The double-edged dagger was injected with profound Yin Qi, and a black mist lingered around the dagger. flickering with a cold glint. It went straight to Yi Qing Luo's back and then swiped across her neck. This strike carried the aura around Shangguan Liuli, thick and tyrannical. Earth Profound 6th grade Profound grade, fully released, the terrifying aura was enough to make people tremble. If this strike fell on Yi Qing Luo would die without a doubt. The onlookers' faces immediately turned solemn and were all astonished as they looked nervously at the situation on the stage. Even if they could see that something was wrong with Shangguan Liuli, they could see that something was wrong with Shangguan Liuli's profound grade. Moreover, Shangguan Liuli's change was obviously related to the dark forces. But before the director stopped the competition and disqualified Shangguan Liuli from the competition on the stage was a competition. No one could stop it on the stage. Otherwise, it would be disrespecting the Heavenly Academy's competition system. Just when everyone's hearts were trembling with fear and anxiety, the young girl, whose back was facing Shangguan Liuli, suddenly stopped in her tracks. Shangguan Liuli's double-edged dagger was already stuck to Yi Qing Luo's fair neck. Shangguan Liuli sneered, a black aura flowing in her eyes. How dare she stop in her tracks? Was he in such a hurry to die? Shangguan Liuli's hand rubbed down hard, a touch. He missed. The girl whose neck had been cut by her double-edged dagger was nowhere to be seen. Shangguan Liuli's face immediately turned aghast, and she quickly reacted by raising her dagger and slashing it towards the side of her body. A beautiful afterimage flashed past his eyes. Yi Qing Luo's enchanting figure stopped a few steps away from her. The corners of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. Student Shangguan, who is at the 6th level of the Earth Profound Realm, is only SOSO. A clear and melodious laughter, with a thick sense of ridicule, rang out in the surroundings. His words were clearly heard by the onlookers. The onlookers. Holy shit! Miss, do you need to be so unreasonable? The opponent was an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator. She would be beaten to death if she was so unreasonable. However, Yi Qing Luo was unreasonable, and getting more and more unreasonable. Her figure suddenly made a somersault in the air. A foot landed on Shangguan Liuli's chest. Chapter 1155. Afraid of Shangguan Liuli? Afraid of an Earth Profound 6th grade Shangguan Liuli? Stop joking. She could even exchange blows with a Sky Mystic Overlord's Wolf Saint technique. Why would she be afraid of a Shangguan Liuli? If it was a real Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator standing in front of her, Yi Qing Luo would definitely perk up and face the battle seriously. But Shangguan Liuli's profound grade was completely pushed up by profound yin qi. No matter how high her profound grade was, or how strong her power was, but Shangguan Liuli herself was a waste. Shangguan Liuli had no way to control such a strong power. For example, you're a newbie, controlling a max-leveled main account, battling against a small account who was 10 over 20 levels lower than you. Although under the suppression of the level and equipment, you could easily reduce the other party's health by half. But the other party was a small account who relied on real skills to rise up. She could totally use her skills and positioning to crush your main account. Now, Yi Qing Luo was the same. No matter how high Shangguan Liuli's profound grade was, she could use Earth Profound 6th grade profound energy to attack her. But to Yi Qing Luo there was no need to care. In her eyes, Shangguan Liuli was merely a scum. Releasing the suppression of Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart was indeed a choice she made after hearing the surrounding crowd's discussions. But it wasn't because she felt that she had an unfair advantage and wanted to defeat Shangguan Liuli openly. But her motive wasn't just to let Shangguan Liuli suffer a crushing defeat. What did Shangguan Liuli care about the most? Wasn't it reputation, status, and ability? Shangguan Liuli wanted to become a person above the masses, to be envied and revered by the masses. Then what she needed to do was to destroy the things that Shangguan Liuli cared about bit by bit. Setting up a blood oath with Shangguan Liuli was like this. Shangguan Liuli cooperated with the dark forces because of her. But unfortunately, Shangguan Liuli wanted to lay her hands on the people around her, manipulating Long Yunzhan to lay his hands on her, injuring Yan Xiaoyi, trying to incite a civil war in the world group. The people who humiliated her, the people who bullied her. Today on the stage, she injured the devil class's students to such a state. Shangguan Liuli. She wanted to turn her name into a joke today. She would let Shangguan Liuli have a good taste of what it was like to be unable to live or die. Shangguan Liuli let out a blood-curdling scream as her body was sent flying by the kick. His entire body fell heavily on the arena, causing the arena to explode into countless fragments. Insta-kill? It was just a simple kick, and Shangguan Liuli was sent flying? The onlookers were dumbfounded. The onlookers were stunned. In any case, Shangguan Liuli was a level 6 Earth Profound Xian practitioner. How on earth did Yi Qing Luo avoid Shangguan Liuli's dagger? Her speed was actually faster than Shangguan Liuli? And he could easily kick Shangguan Liuli away? This girl, actually, it's not just a mere Earth Profound 4th grade Profound rank, right? Hearing the gasps from the crowd, as well as the disdainful gazes that landed on him, he felt a chill run down his spine. The taut string in Shangguan Liuli's mind snapped. Her little face contorted into a hideous grimace. Her eyes were filled with black mist. Yi Qing Luo, I'm going to kill you! Shangguan Liuli's body was like a swift and violent wild cat, as she sprung up from the ground. The dagger in her hand slashed towards Yi Qing Luo's face without a care for her life. But Yi Qing Luo only looked at her with a smile. That smile was filled with provocation and ridicule. Chapter 1156. Boss Qing Luo. Devil Class's students clenched their fists as they stood up anxiously, their eyes filled with worry. Even though they knew how powerful Yi Qing Luo was. But Shangguan Liuli was after all an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator who possessed profound Yin Qi. If Shangguan Liuli played dirty and their boss Qing Luo was injured, what should they do? Looking at Shangguan Liuli waving her dagger at Yi Qing Luo several times, the dagger was close to Yi Qing Luo's fatal spot several times. Their hearts started to tremble uncontrollably. Who will win this duel? At the Devil Class's waiting area, all the class monitors or representatives from the other classes had gathered. After seeing Devil Class and Intermediate Profound Class 2, 9 against 10, the students' views towards Devil Class had changed. Dong Huang Lang grabbed Qi Yijing's arm tightly as he said worriedly, Shangguan Liuli is an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator, and something is obviously wrong with her. Student Yi has no advantage in this battle. Don't look at the current situation. Yi Qing Luo had crushed Shangguan Liuli. But Shangguan Liuli's profound grade rose sharply at irregular intervals and burst out powerful profound qi at irregular intervals, defeating the people on the stage. Yi Qing Luo would always be at a disadvantage. Intermediate Profound Class 1's monitor rubbed his chin. Student Shangguan's ability to increase her profound grade at irregular intervals should have stopped? If he was able to continuously increase his profound strength without any restrictions, it was simply too heaven-defying. Even if the director didn't say anything, all the students were going to join hands and strongly demand an end to this unfair competition. Qing Luo will never fight a battle she has no confidence in. Long Yunzhan's cold voice suppressed the crowd's discussion. Since she asked us to give up, she must have the confidence to win. The students were stunned as they nodded their heads. Indeed so. Yi Qing Luo would never do something she had no confidence in. Since she dared to do it, she must have 100% confidence or had thought of a foolproof plan. So what if Shangguan Liuli's profound grade rose sharply? Yi Qing Luo would definitely win. And at this moment, Yi Qing Luo, who had a faint smile on her face, calmly looked at the dagger which was heading towards her. The dagger's black qi swirled like a hurricane, bringing along a wild wave of air. Yi Qing Luo's smile became sweeter as the strong wind blew her hair and her red robe. Her face, which was already beautiful enough to topple cities, was now even more captivating. Breathtaking, stunning beauty. Shangguan Liuli's eyes were filled with black qi as a strong killing intent and battle intent surged out from her body. Shangguan Liuli's only thought at this moment was to kill Yi Qing Luo. Destroy Yi Qing Luo's current breathtaking look. The dagger was infused with mysterious yin qi. The power of the Earth Profound 6th grade was fully unleashed as it slashed towards Yi Qing Luo's face. Clang! The dagger trembled and a sharp glint appeared. An enchanting red light pierced Shangguan Liuli's eyes. In front of him, the glowing flame fan had blocked Shangguan Liuli's double-edged dagger. From the looks of it, it was just a casual move. However, Shangguan Liuli was suppressed to the point that the dagger could not move forward at all. A twisted wrath appeared on his malevolent face. Shangguan Liuli tightened her fingers and increased the mysterious yin qi on the dagger. Her entire body was filled with a terrifying power. With a flick of her fingers, the dagger flashed past the bottom of the glower flame fan and pierced towards Yi Qing Luo. But unexpectedly, Yi Qing Luo seemed to have predicted her next move. At the same time as she flipped, the devouring flame fan in Yi Qing Luo's hands also opened downwards at the same time. Coincidentally, it blocked Shangguan Liuli's dagger attack once again. Chapter 1157. Pft! Fresh blood spurted out from Shangguan Liuli's mouth. Like a rain of blood, it splattered on the arena. Her body, once again, was like a kite with a broken string, smashing heavily onto the ground. Shangguan Liuli coughed in pain. Every time she coughed, the blood from her heart filled her mouth. Blood spilled out from the corner of her mouth. Shangguan Liuli was battered and exhausted. Yi Qing Luo still had a smile on her face in a carefree manner. At this moment, Yi Qing Luo appeared to be even more stunning. The crowd had already been crushed by this scene, as they screamed out in shock. The moment Yi Qing Luo went up on stage, she directly crushed Earth Profound 6th grade Shangguan Liuli, till nothing was left. How strong was Yi Qing Luo? No wonder Yi Qing Luo asked her injured classmates to give up first. She was wild, she was arrogant. Why? Because Yi Qing Luo had the right to be arrogant and arrogant. It was just a matter of minutes for her to crush an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator. The crowd's eyes were burning. Many of the powerhouse's representatives, the Academy's representatives, were emitting a burning feeling in their eyes. If it was possible, she really wanted to cross hands with Yi Qing Luo, to see how strong her ability was. Shangguan Liuli was kicked several times, her hair disheveled, like an evil spirit, battered and exhausted. Her heart was already filled with shock. But most of it was the growing hatred towards Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo did it on purpose. Yi Qing Luo was intentionally humiliating her, making her lose face in front of the crowd. Yi Qing Luo would not kill her easily. Instead, he used such a method to continuously humiliate her, causing her to be so embarrassed in front of the eyes of the public. Shangguan Liuli couldn't believe it. She was an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator. How could she be abused by Yi Qing Luo? Obviously, before Yi Qing Luo appeared, she was the Overlord who controlled the arena. She was the goddess in everyone's eyes. She could see everyone's envy and admiration towards her in everyone's eyes. After this battle, her innate talent could totally enter the class of gods, and be envied by everyone. But Yi Qing Luo's appearance made Shangguan Liuli completely realize that the power which she was so proud of was simply a joke. Are you surprised that an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator is unable to defeat me, a Earth Profound 4th grade cultivator? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows and smiled provocatively. Shangguan Liuli raised her eyes in shock, not understanding how Yi Qing Luo could guess her thoughts. She covered the sharp pain in her chest and forced herself to stand up. All his willpower was placed on the hatred towards Yi Qing Luo. The power of this hatred was enough to make a spoiled young lady like her throw away all the arrogance and willfulness she once had. Only for one purpose. One, the motive of killing Yi Qing Luo. Facing Shangguan Liuli's undisguised hatred and dense murderous intent, Yi Qing Luo smiled calmly. Her long and narrow eyes shone with a captivating luster. Because he has the power of a 6th-level Earth profound realm, but it's just a useless body. No matter how strong his power is, the person who uses it is trash. The power of a 6th-level Earth profound realm is also trash. She paused, her smile was brilliant, unparalleled. Her eyes swept across the stage, those few students who were already stunned on the spot, not knowing what to do. "Pardon my bluntness." She enunciated each and every word clearly. "I'm not targeting anyone, I mean everyone on the stage are all trash." One sentence made the crowd fall into a dead silence. Chapter 1158. Dumbstruck and astonished gazes were fixed on Yiqing Luo. What was Yiqing Luo saying? Not only had she humiliated Shangguan Liuli, she had also humiliated the entire class too? The crowd roared in their hearts, and almost wanted to rush up the stage to poke Yiqing Luo's brain and ask her what was she thinking about. On the stage, there were 5 students from the intermediate profound class 2. They had been silent all this while, allowing Yiqing Luo to humiliate Shangguan Liuli again and again. That was because they were shocked, so they didn't make a move. Yiqing Luo actually took the initiative to provoke those students. This was forcing those students to perform a gang fight. They knew that Yiqing Luo was arrogant, but they had not expected Yiqing Luo to be so arrogant, so presumptuous. That was simply out of the world, just as the crowd had expected. After being ridiculed by Yiqing Luo that they were a bunch of trash, the students from the intermediate profound class 2 regained their senses and revealed an angry expression as they stared at Yiqing Luo. Their muscles tensed up and their fists clenched. Each of them gritted their teeth, wishing they could tear Yiqing Luo into pieces. In their minds, they kept repeating Yiqing Luo's words of trash. Because of their successive victories, their arrogance and conceit had been humiliated by Yiqing Luo till not even dregs were left. How could they tolerate this? So what if Yiqing Luo was powerful? Even if Shangguan Liuli was unable to display the full power of an Earth profound 6th grade, so what? They had Shangguan Liuli, and she had the profound Yin Qi on her. 6 of them, would they be afraid of surrounding an Earth profound 4th grade Yiqing Luo? Go! For the intermediate profound class 2 to obtain victory in the preliminary round. Let that arrogant girl have a good look at our intermediate profound class 2's ability. Rubbish! Your whole family are rubbish. The students from the intermediate profound class 2 exchanged glances, and at the same time, they attacked Yiqing Luo. Strong profound qi broke out of their bodies. The air waves around them turned into a huge whirlpool. Mixed with the profound Yin Qi's cold qi, it was a strong force that almost destroyed the stage. In an instant, the stage collapsed and the gravel and wood shavings flew everywhere once again. The students from the intermediate profound class 2 had been transformed by the profound Yin Qi. Not only had their profound grades increased tremendously, even his own attack had been enhanced. The 5 students formed an encirclement, trapping Yiqing Luo in the middle. They gripped the weapons in their hands tightly, and their eyes were filled with intense anger. The air seemed to freeze under the combined attack of the 5 people. Qing Luo's character is indeed very pure. Qiao Jin wiped off his cold sweat, provoking the enemy without saying a word. 1 against 6 at the slightest disagreement. They didn't even think about how worried their group of brothers were when they were sitting at the side and watching. Those 5 students from intermediate profound class 2 had already made a deal with the dark forces. They had clearly felt the power of those students just now. If it were them, they would be surrounded by 5 people at the same time. Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. As for Yiqing Luo, she was still smiling and standing in the same place without the slightest change in expression. Her eyes were curved and her expression was indifferent. He didn't seem to care about the attacks of the 5 students at all. Immediately, the 5 students' fighting spirit was aroused. The flames on his body surged once more. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly like a flower. You guys overestimate yourselves. Her cold voice and arrogant words reverberated around the entire stage. The feather fan between her fingers suddenly flipped over in her palm. Like a ball of burning flame, it spun around in her palm. The feather fan opened up and gave off a shocking red glow. In a split second, the surroundings were covered with hot air. Chapter 1159. The glower flame fan in Yiqing Luo's hands seemed to have a soul of its own. With a few twirls, it headed straight for the chests of the 5 students who were surrounding and attacking him. A strong aura surged into the sky. As the feather fan moved, burst out a burst of swoosh swoosh sound. Under the revolutions, because of inertia, after the 5 students were brushed past by the glower flame fan, they all staggered and fell onto the ground. Buzz buzz, bam! A deafening explosion sounded, causing the surroundings of the arena to explode into dust. The surrounding was covered in white, the spectators couldn't see clearly. But Yiqing Luo, who was in the dust, could see it clearly. Just as the glower flame fan brushed past the 5 students, Shangguan Luli, who was originally lying on the ground, leaped up. Holding the double-edged dagger in her hand, she took the opportunity to sneak and attack. This strike was obviously the real power which was brought out after the profound Yin Qi was reintegrated. It was thick and powerful, and it caused people to be astonished. If it was any other devil class students, they would not be able to avoid this move. Yiqing Luo's reaction was extremely swift. She immediately raised her hand, and called back the glower flame fan which was still revolving in midair. She flipped her hand and swiftly blocked the dagger. The alluring red glow and that piercing silver light collided fiercely. The strong profound Yin Qi took the opportunity to swiftly coil around Yiqing Luo's wrist. The black smoke-like profound Yin Qi, with an extremely fast speed, swallowed Yiqing Luo's arm. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. This profound Yin Qi wanted to take the opportunity to swallow her? She really didn't change. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold, as the feather fan flipped once again. The alluring red glow, from the place where the 2 of them collided, overflowed once again. In an instant, it swallowed the profound Yin Qi into the red glow. Shangguan Luli's expression changed greatly. She immediately retracted her hand, trying to avoid Yiqing Luo's counterattack. But that smear of red glow was even more powerful than the profound Yin Qi. It could totally suppress the profound Yin Qi, to the extent that she was unable to release the profound Yin Qi. Yiqing Luo, how could she possibly have a way to suppress the profound Yin Qi? Profound Yin Qi. Wasn't it the same as the legend? Was there no way to break it? Why was it that Yiqing Luo was able to use her profound qi to restrain the dark force's profound lunar secret method to the extent that it was unable to be displayed? This was the reason why Yiqing Luo totally disregarded her? Shangguan Liuli was shocked. The crowd went crazy. Everyone's blood was stirred up by this exciting duel. Even they, who were outside the barrier, could feel the powerful aura. On the general courtyard side, other than Senior Mo, the other 3 elders all stood up as they looked at Yiqing Luo agitatedly. The dean and the elders immediately stood up as well. His face was filled with worry. However, there was a trace of hostility hidden in the dean's eyes. Shangguan Liuli, that trash. He actually made a mess of things. Not only did he not get rid of the devil class, instead, he had exposed his identity and dragged the dark forces into this. If the Heavenly Academy was implicated, his position as the dean would be in jeopardy. Shangguan Liuli, from the first day we entered the academy, you viewed me as your enemy. However, since you are trash, I have never taken you seriously. Yiqing Luo spoke calmly as her gaze turned cold. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Especially those who offend the people around me, repeatedly hurting my brothers by my side. Her pink lips curled into a smile. Chapter 1160. Bam Bam Bam. Following Yiqing Luo's words, A deafening roar pierced through the sky. The energy waves and smoke filled the entire arena. The crowd couldn't see clearly what had happened on the arena. Silence reigned. There was dead silence. The crowd's gaze kept searching around the arena. They wanted to know who was the one who burst out such a strong aura and defeated the opponent. Bam! Another explosion rang out. The entire arena exploded with a loud bang. The arena, which occupied 1/3 of the West Square, collapsed. Collapsed? The arena actually collapsed? The enchantment which enveloped the arena also collapsed at this moment. The horrifying aura was like a hurricane as it attacked the surrounding crowd. Everyone could clearly sense the strong aura emitted from the enchantment. The continuous energy was almost enough to destroy the heaven and earth. There were quite a number of high-ranking cultivators who had experienced the battlefield. At this moment, they were completely stunned by this horrifying profound chi. The smoke dispersed. Gradually, a slender figure appeared. Her red robe danced, dazzling and gorgeous. Enchanting and amorous, her every move was exuding a fatal temptation. She floated peacefully in midair, holding a red feather fan that was as red as fire. It was Yi Qing Luo. Was it really Yi Qing Luo? She actually released such a powerful energy. The young lady who was called trash by everyone, the young lady who was spurned by countless people. But time and time again, she blossomed with her own brilliance. She wanted to show everyone how powerful she was. Looking at the collapsed arena, the rubble and wooden planks were pressing on the intermediate profound Class 2 students. 5 intermediate profound Class 2 students had long lost their fighting power and fainted. While Shangguan Liuli was lying in the rubble, a heavy wooden plank was pressing on half of her body. Her entire face was pale from the pain, sweat dripping down. The uniform on her body was already covered with blood and was tattered. She looked extremely disheveled. The crowd stared blankly at this scene. Shock, astonishment, and finally full of shock. Just one person defeated the opponent. Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator, plus 5 high-leveled cultivators. And her moves were so casual, as though she didn't use her full strength and it was just a casual battle. It was too shocking. Butler Shangguan sat in his own area, feeling like he was sitting on pins and needles. Facing the Yuchi Third Head's mocking gaze, as well as Zhu Wuxin's cold and emotionless gaze, the Yuchi Third Head's expression changed. Butler Shangguan's heart was filled with apprehension. How could this be? How did the situation suddenly turn like this? Wasn't his family's 5th miss already at the 6th grade Earth Profound realm? Even with 5 students from the intermediate Profound Class 2, they still had no way to defeat Yi Qing Luo? This was like slapping the Shangguan family in the face. Housekeeper Shangguan's face turned ashen as he clenched his fists and stood up abruptly, pointing at Yi Qing Luo as he berated. Yi Qing Luo, it was just a competition organized by the academy, yet you actually dared to be so ruthless to your fellow student. This is simply inhumane. Immediately, the Shangguan family's forces followed suit, determined to seek justice from Yi Qing Luo. Coincidentally, even though Three Springs sect knew that Yi Qing Luo was going to take part in such an important competition, no one from the Yi family came to watch the battle. The Shangguan family was relying on the fact that Three Springs sect would not stand up for a vile spawn like Yi Qing Luo, so they angrily opened their mouth to seek justice for their 5th Mississippi. Inhumane? Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but sneer when she heard that. Her slender brows knitted slightly as her cold gaze fell onto Butler Shangguan. Since the Shangguan family had to jump out. Chapter 1161. Yi Qing Luo turned around and walked directly towards Shangguan Liuli, who was pinned down by the wooden plank. Her pink lips rose slightly, her smile was enchanting and full of sarcasm. So, this is the human nature of the Shangguan family. Only Shangguan Liuli is allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to retaliate? Earlier, Shangguan Liuli's every strike, obviously attacking Yi Qing Luo's vital point. Every strike was fatal and merciless. She laughed softly, her eyes were filled with ridicule, the so-called human nature of the Shangguan family has opened my eyes. In this way, I will continue to use the human nature of the Shangguan family to carry on the human nature to the end." Housekeeper Shangguan's face sunk instantly. He didn't expect Yi Qing Luo to directly implicate the Shangguan family. As the representative of the Shangguan family, Housekeeper Shangguan couldn't allow the Shangguan family's reputation to be tarnished. Immediately, he slammed the table and roared, "It's obviously you who injured our fifth miss to this extent. Still trying to quibble?" He Yi Qing Luo snorted disdainfully. Her eyes swept across the various forces' representatives, the school's representatives, and smiled sweetly. "The crowd's eyes are clear. Who is right and who is wrong in the competition, the crowd is clear. The Shangguan family sent out such an ignorant person to be the representative of the Shangguan family. It was simply a disgrace to the Shangguan family. Logically, when such a thing happened, even if it was the Shangguan family, they still had to avoid the eye of the storm. Or even to directly attack Shangguan Liuli, to protect the Shangguan family's reputation. But this housekeeper Shangguan rushed out to protect Shangguan Liuli, and directly accused others. Yi Qing Luo didn't know what words to use to ridicule this self-righteous, benevolent housekeeper Shangguan. That housekeeper Shangguan indeed didn't let Yi Qing Luo down. After hearing Yi Qing Luo's ridicule, housekeeper Shangguan directly swept a cold gaze across everyone present, his face gloomy. "Shuelyang? This housekeeper wants to see. What the crowd saw was you bullying the Shangguan family's fifth miss, and even trying to kill her. It's really our fifth miss who attacked you." These words were said beautifully. Since Yi Qing Luo went on stage, it was indeed Yi Qing Luo who crushed Shangguan Liuli one-sidedly. Shangguan Liuli's several ruthless attacks were perfectly avoided by Yi Qing Luo and even retaliated. He hadn't succeeded even once in his attempt. However, it didn't mean that she had to take a stab from Shangguan Liuli to be considered to have been killed. The funny thing was, housekeeper Shangguan still thought that he was making a statement at the Western Continent's Power Conference. He actually wanted to use his identity as a member of the Shangguan family to threaten the onlookers. The people here were all forces from all over the Nirvana realm. A mere Shangguan clan, one of the four great clans of the Western Continent, how could they possibly put them in their eyes? Not to mention, if one were to talk about status, the person on the stage was the rightful young master of the Three Springs sect, the seventh miss of the Yi clan. After all, the Three Springs sect was one of the four major sects in the Nirvana realm, the strongest force in the West Continent. Any one of the forces present would step forward. Their status isn't lower than the Shangguan family, okay? Hearing housekeeper Shangguan's words, Yi Qing Luo almost laughed her teeth off. He was not afraid of a godlike opponent, but he was afraid of a pig-like teammate. Butler Shangguan was simply a godly assistant. There was no need for her to deliberately guide him. Butler Shangguan had attracted the hatred of all the forces. If nothing unexpected happened, at this time tomorrow, the Shangguan clan should completely become history. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she glanced at the representatives whose faces were getting darker and darker. The arc of her lips deepened. Chapter 1162. Yi Qing Luo cleared her throat and pointed to the disheveled lady by her feet and shouted, "Fifth Miss Shangguan didn't hesitate to trade her soul with the dark forces in order to win the competition in exchange for powerful strength. This kind of behavior is not only deceiving the Academy, but also deceiving all of you who have sharp eyes. The so-called competition, the so-called open competition, is not only judged by the Academy, everyone here is also a judge. After the battle in the tomb of the Ling King, I'm sure all of you have an idea of what the dark forces are like. The purpose of the dark forces is definitely to invade the Nirvana realm and rule over it." Speaking till here, Yi Qing Luo intentionally paused for a moment. Sure enough, he saw the serious expressions on the onlookers' faces. Who would want their territory to be occupied by an unknown force? Who would want the so-called dark forces to invade their Nirvana realm? even though they had been fighting openly and covertly for many years because of the division of land between the four continents. Even when outsiders intended to invade their territory, they would somehow unite as one. Ever since the tomb of the Ling King, all the forces in the Nirvana realm had thoroughly understood the history of the Dark Forces. Dark Forces, the existence that was spurned by the Nirvana realm. It was a force that only knew how to use evil arts and secret arts to seek benefit. They did not hesitate to stain their hands with blood. It was said that 1,000 years ago, the Dark Forces wanted to use sorcery to conquer the Nirvana realm. It was the gods of the upper realm who descended to the mortal world to stop the catastrophe of the Nirvana realm. It was said that in that battle, the Dark Forces were prepared to kill tens of thousands of profound practitioners in the Nirvana realm and use the blood of the profound practitioners to summon the dark demonic beasts that were in deep slumber to fight to the death with the upper realm. In the end, he was stopped by the gods of the upper realm, killing 10,000 profound practitioners. The Dark Forces were willing to sacrifice tens of thousands of profound practitioners just to summon a magical beast. One could imagine how savage they were. How could the Nirvana realm allow such a force to invade? Shangguan Liuli, the fifth miss of the Shangguan clan, ignored the safety of the Nirvana realm for her own selfish desires, and blindly joined the Dark Forces. I'm very suspicious now. Is it only the fifth Miss Shangguan who is involved with the Dark Forces, or the entire Shangguan family has long been the Dark Forces' nest in the Nirvana realm? His words set off a huge wave. Butler Shangguan's expression changed drastically, and he trembled in exasperation. You're slandering me. The Shangguan family was innocent, so how could they be involved with the Dark Forces? In order to avoid responsibility, you actually came up with such a ridiculous excuse. What are your intentions? His repeated questioning made him appear to be speaking righteously. However, the question in his words made people unable to restrain their laughter. Butler Shangguan, aren't your words a little unreasonable? Third Head Yuchi rubbed his round belly and said with a smile, I'm already over 50 years old. Bullying a little girl is a disgrace to the Shangguan family. He hadn't expected that the Yuchi family would also take the opportunity to insult the Shangguan family. Butler Shangguan's face turned green and red. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. The Yuchi third head continued to laugh. The unknown black gas on fifth Miss Shangguan's body, as well as the inexplicable increase in her profound level, are very telling. The onlookers nodded repeatedly. They weren't blind. How could they not see the strange black gas that flowed around Shangguan Liuli during the competition? Every time the black gas thickened, Shangguan Liuli's profound level would begin to increase. Chapter 1163. The crowd's eyes were absolutely sharp. Housekeeper Shangguan insisted on pushing the blame to Student Yi. It's a disgrace to the family. After saying that, Third Head Yuchi sighed lightly and shook his head helplessly. He seemed to be disappointed with the Shangguan family. Third Head Yuchi, you're helping Yi Qing Luo and being so overbearing. Are you trying to bully the Shangguan family? Housekeeper Shangguan gritted his teeth. He stood out in a hurry just to show his loyalty in front of the Shangguan family. Shangguan Liuli was the darling of the Shangguan family. Especially after Shangguan Liuli's strength had undergone an earth-shattering change, the Shangguan family doted on Shangguan Liuli even more. Moreover, he had already found out. The patriarch of the Shangguan family had the intention to pass the position to Shangguan Liuli. Now, Shangguan Liuli was being insulted. Housekeeper Shangguan naturally defended her. Unexpectedly, he was attacked by various forces instead, and even dragged the Shangguan family into the vortex of rumors. Housekeeper Shangguan was completely anxious. He absolutely could not let the Shangguan family's reputation be tarnished. He absolutely could not let the Shangguan family become the target of public criticism. I'm overbearing? Third Head Yuchi laughed even more cheerfully. He stood up directly. His big belly and bloated body didn't affect his agility at all. In just a few steps, he had already returned to the Yuchi family's area of influence. His gaze fixed on the waiting area for the masters. If not, we can ask the Master of Intermediate Profound Class 2 to explain. Before this, what level was 5th Miss Shangguan's profound grade? The Master of Intermediate Profound Class 2, who was called, immediately stood up, facing the countless gazes thrown at him. He was sweating profusely and after a while, he said with a dry throat, "Yesterday before we set off, I specially checked all the students' school badges, Shangguan. Student Shangguan's profound grade shows, Earth profound grade." "And before that?" Third head Yuchi continued to ask. The master of second class sweated even more fiercely. "Mystic profound grade 5. Third head Yuchi did not continue to question and gently let the master of second class sit down. Soon after, he turned his head around and looked at the sea of people in the area of the various forces. He smiled warmly. 5th level of the profound realm, soaring to the earth profound realm in one leap. Moreover, in the short span of a day, advancing 6 levels in succession. He clicked his tongue and said, "It seems that the 5th Miss of the Shangguan family is a rare genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. From the 5th stage of the profound mystic realm, he advanced to the profound earth realm. It would take at least half a year and at most 8 to 10 years. In Shangguan Liuli's case, it was as if she could rise to the earth profound realm in a matter of minutes. As for the ranks after the earth profound realm, the process of advancing a rank was even more difficult than the process of breaking through from the profound realm to the earth profound realm. Not to mention, in the blink of an eye, it rose 5 ranks and then another. Such an existence. He was even more of a genius than the genius profounders. Even the students of the class of gods would not be able to do this. The representative of the Shangguan family immediately blushed. How could he refute it? Coincidentally, the dean, who had been silent all this while, slowly stood up. That dignified gaze burned like a torch. His tall and sturdy body was trembling slowly. Great! What a good intermediate profound class 2, what a good Shangguan Liuli! He flew into a rage, but suppressed it and maintained the demeanor of the dean. Seeing that the dean had spoken, the various forces immediately stopped their discussions. After all, this was the Heavenly Academy's class competition. This was also a student of the Heavenly Academy. Chapter 1164. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows leisurely as she crossed her arms over her chest. After staying silent for so long, the director finally chose to give up on Shangguan Liuli, this chess piece? Come to think of it, the matter of Shangguan Liuli collaborating with the dark forces was completely confirmed by the onlookers. If the director learned from the Shangguan family and chose to protect Shangguan Liuli, the director would definitely be implicated in this. It was highly possible that his own transactions with the dark forces would be discovered. In order to protect himself, sacrificing Shangguan Liuli was necessary. As students of the Heavenly Academy, colluding with the dark forces in an attempt to cheat and muddle through, I, the director of the Heavenly Academy, announce once again that the qualification of Intermediate Class 2 is cancelled and all the students of Intermediate Class 2 are ordered to leave the Academy. The director suppressed his anger in his voice as he announced the words that he had been cursing in his heart for a long time. Immediately, it aroused the protests of the other students of Intermediate Class 2. There were only a few students who were duped by Shangguan Liuli and made a deal with the dark forces. The rest of the students were innocent. As for the so-called dark forces, they knew nothing at all. How could they face the judgment of disqualification and even be ordered to leave the academy when they didn't know anything? How could they be reconciled to this? The director's stern voice interrupted the other students' protests. The so-called class is all about team spirit. A student doing such a devoid of conscience and leading so many students to be involved with the dark forces. As students of the same class, You didn't notice the strangeness of your fellow students and took the initiative to report it to the Master of Justice or the director. Naturally, all the students will be punished together. Those students were speechless. Work hard to get into the Heavenly Academy. Work hard to get into the intermediate class too. Work hard to graduate from the Heavenly Academy and get everyone's recognition. But today, everything had been destroyed. They who were expelled from the Heavenly Academy would not be recruited by other academies. Unless they had outstanding talent, unless they had special skills. This also meant that the rest of their lives were completely ruined. Director. The Master of Intermediate Class 2 stood up hesitantly. It was Shangguan Liuli's fault alone. But she vented her anger on the entire class. This was really unfair to the other students. However, just as he was about to plead for leniency. But he was interrupted by the dean's cold voice. The Intermediate Profound Class 2's teacher did not fulfill his responsibility to guide the students. He knew that Shangguan Liuli's profound rank had risen abnormally, but he did not report to the higher-ups about Shangguan Liuli's abnormality, harboring the intention of shielding her. From now on, your headmaster's title token will be revoked, and you will never be a headmaster again. The teacher of Class 2's words were completely stuck in his throat. His face was ashen as he sat down in a daze. Revoke the headmaster's position badge? Never to be a headmaster again? This punishment was too cruel, Principal. The teacher of the second class uttered in a trembling voice. He had been teaching in the academy for decades. Even if he had not made any contributions, he had put in a lot of effort. However, the dean did not hesitate to uproot everything. Not even giving him a chance to live? The Heavenly Academy is absolutely open and fair. If something like this happens again, this dean will definitely not let it off lightly. With that, the headmaster cupped his fists and bowed deeply in the direction of the headmaster. Without another word, he turned and left the West Lawn Square. The headmaster of the general courtyard did not blame him for his behavior. After all, in front of so many people, the Heavenly Academy that had always scored full marks and had won the title of Best Academy several times consecutively. This time, the negative comments came one after another. Chapter 1165. Yiqing Luo kept her feather fan lazily. With a bored look, she yawned. Then she stretched her body lazily. She didn't bother about the messy scene, Shangguan Liuli who was dead or alive, and directly returned to Devil Class's area. Too weak, it's like cutting cabbages, so boring. Yiqing Luo leisurely walked to Long Yunzhan as she ridiculed. Her voice wasn't soft. The crowd in the front row could still hear it. Immediately, the crowd gave a thumbs up once again. A big word of admiration to Yiqing Luo. Yun Duan coughed lightly. The preliminary round was full of surprises, but today's competition has finally come to an end. At this moment, the crowd's attention obviously couldn't be focused on the competition. Today's matter, if it was to be settled, it would be very tricky. Yun Duan immediately announced, "The preliminary round's winner class is Devil Class. Congratulations to Devil Class for entering the finals." After the announcement, he said a few more words, and directly announced the end of the preliminary round. Very quickly, the Academy's guards carried the few intermediate Profound Class 2 students who were lying in the ruins. Finally, they carried Shangguan Liuli away. Housekeeper Shangguan, at this moment, didn't dare to say a word. He watched helplessly as the guards carried away his fifth Mississippi. Then he led a bunch of Shangguan powerful people back to the Shangguan family with his tail between his legs, to inform the Shangguan family head about this matter. "All right, dismissed, go back and rest." Yiqing Luo waved her hand, indicating for everyone to support the injured back to the dormitory. She skipped back to Dmo Xian's side, raised her head, looked at the smooth lines under the golden mask, her charming eyes curved. "How was my performance?" He lowered his eyes. The dazzling peach blossom eyes, through the mask, could still scorch her heart. Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly red as her hands tightened. Nonsense. Dmo Xian spat out the words softly. His slender fingers poked Yiqing Luo's forehead, and immediately pinched her delicate nose bridge. So arrogant, aren't you afraid of angering Shangguan Luli, forcing her to release the real profound Yin Qi? By then the one who will be at a disadvantage will be you. Yiqing Luo struggled from being pinched, just based on that kind of waste, and she wants to release the real profound Yin Qi? Ah Xian, you think too highly of her. He was enraged. The darkness in Shangguan Liuli's heart would only be grasped by the dark forces, as well as her unreasonable hatred and resentment. Then, he would listen to the temptation of the dark forces and choose to sacrifice himself in exchange for greater power. He would never understand. He made use of the dark forces' mysterious Yin energy to fight against the wind. What's more, Ah Xian is here, I'm not afraid. Yiqing Luo smiled elegantly and rested her head on Dmo Xian's shoulder. Dmo Xian released her nose in satisfaction. His long and narrow peach blossom eyes were gleaming. Apparently Yiqing Luo's words had successfully pleased him. The victorious group left the battlefield in a grandiose manner, heading straight for the direction of the dormitory. All the powerhouses were full of goodwill towards the devil class. One by one, they seized the opportunity to step forward and extend their olive branches. They were all sent away by Yiqing Luo with a smile. The crowd surged. Zhu Wuxin, who was originally sitting on the Shangguan clan's side, had already retreated into the crowd. His cold and indifferent eyes stared unblinkingly at the petite figure surrounded by the crowd. Her red clothes fluttered like fire. In this world, she was the only one who could suppress such a heavy and oppressive red robe. Chapter 1166. What do you think of her? His thin lips opened slightly, and an emotionless voice spilled out from his lips. Behind him, an illusory figure that seemed to have blended into the air was faintly discernible. Castle Lord, this subordinate feels that this woman is extremely hot-tempered. She's too arrogant, conceited, and wild. She's not easy to control. Zhu Wuxin was silent for a moment. After a while, he nodded slightly and said, "Indeed." The current Yiqing Luo had a strong character, totally different from the past her. Arrogant, egotistical, seemed to have become synonyms for Yiqing Luo. That was a phrase that was tailor-made for Yiqing Luo. But the illusory figure paused, seemingly probing Zhu Wuxian's emotions. Her arrogance is not hateful. Instead, I feel that she was born to be like this. After answering, the illusory figure half knelt on the ground. After a long time, Zhu Wuxin's voice did not ring out. Zhu Wuxin retracted his gaze. The darkness in his eyes became even thicker. That's right, Yiqing Luo's insolence could not incite anyone's disgust. She was born strong. They were born to stand at the peak and look down on the rest of the world. But it's not like that. His Yiqing Luo, it shouldn't be like this. Zhu Wuxin closed his eyes tightly, not willing to let this strange emotion disturb his heart. Devil class's complete victory caused the devil class to be on fire. These were the students who were once despised by everyone, the students who were called trash. Before Yiqing Luo could rush over, they had consecutively won 2 matches. Although the process was a bit despicable, but the result was still satisfactory. Before Yiqing Luo rushed over, no matter how tough it was, or how heavily injured he was, he still refused to admit defeat without any hesitation. This kind of firm belief, even those profound practitioners who had experienced many battles might not be able to achieve this. Devil class had conquered everyone not only because of Yiqing Luo's ability and the spirit of the other students. Yiqing Luo looked at the room filled with delicacies, but no one touched their chopsticks, as each and every one of the students were drinking excitedly, as her lips curled into a faint smile. After joking around with them for a while, Yiqing Luo made an excuse to check on Yi Fengyu's injuries and left the celebration banquet with Dmo Xian. Just as he was about to leave the restaurant and head for the dormitory, but she was held by Dmo Xian as he pulled her to another private room. Compared to the liveliness of the Devil Class's room, this huge private room seemed exceptionally quiet. Yiqing Luo was just about to open her mouth when she suddenly discovered a tall figure sitting on the seat in the private room. Then, Ah Xian? That person, wasn't he Supreme Mo? Yiqing Luo immediately turned her head to look at the person beside her, and then looked at Senior Mo, who was seated not too far away. This was the method that DMO Xian mentioned? Without being detected by the headquarters or the dark forces, he was Supreme Mo's method? Using a fake Supreme Mo to place her here, the Supreme Mo would directly go and save her. No matter who it was, they would not think that Senior Mo and DMO Xian were the same person. Ah Feng, how's the situation? DMO Xian pulled Yiqing Luo's little hand and pulled her to the side to sit. This Supreme Mo was Ah Feng in disguise. Ah Feng shook his head slowly. I'm afraid the HQ doesn't plan to interfere with the dark forces. That bunch of old fools. The dark forces didn't cause trouble for them, so they don't care. DMO Xian's inky black eyes narrowed slightly, then create a small accident to let them take note of the dark forces. Ah Feng cupped his fist in the other hand. Yes. What headquarters? You intend to let the headquarters take action to investigate Heavenly Academy? Yiqing Luo was slightly dazed from what she heard. DMO Xian glanced sideways. The chilliness in his eyes had already faded. Chapter 1167. Dark Forces and Heavenly Academy's matters should have been settled by Yiqing Luo personally. A self-reliant lady like Yiqing Luo refused to rely on others. DMO Xian knew about it, but he intervened. He also told Yiqing Luo openly, "The dark forces have tried to kill you time and time again. I can't remain indifferent." DMO Xian's voice was slightly apologetic. The hand that was caressing Yiqing Luo's fine black hair also paused slightly. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she closed his wide palm. "I know your motive is to investigate the Heavenly Academy, but for me, you intentionally gave up on the Academy's investigation." As intelligent as she was, how could she not see through DMO Xian's intention and motive? Would a venerable sovereign deliberately disguise himself as Senior Mo and sneak into the headquarters? It must be related to the Heavenly Academy. DMO Xian was stunned for a moment before a trace of gentleness flashed past his brows. His long arm scooped and brought Yiqing Luo into his embrace as his chin rested on her shoulder. "Lil Luo, you have indeed won my heart." DMO Xian sighed faintly. "Yes, I used revered Mo's identity to infiltrate the headquarters, in order to get close to the Heavenly Academy's director, to find out the reason for the disappearance of the Heavenly Academy's students. The Heavenly Academy is the best academy over the years and should be the role model for all the other academies. But unfortunately, there are more than 15 missing students in the Heavenly Academy every year, and there is no news leaked out." Yiqing Luo raised her head. Her eyes flickered as she looked at him. "You also know about the disappearance of the Heavenly Academy's students? I naturally wouldn't know about this kind of thing, but it just so happened that one of the missing students was the disciple of the Emperor Palace's disciple. I felt that this matter was fishy, so I investigated it. Students had gone missing, young profound practitioner students had gone missing. If it was just one or two of them, DMO Xian would not think too much about it. However, there were at least 15 of them every year, and this went on for several years without a break. That was definitely abnormal. There were many secret arts and magical arts that required the blood of young profound practitioners. DMO Xian was unable to ascertain the Heavenly Academy's conspiracy, what kind of secret technique was needed or what kind of conspiracy was achieved. The only thing he could be sure of was, if the Heavenly Academy's conspiracy were to come true, the entire Nirvana realm would probably undergo a huge change. As the palace master of the #1 Imperial Palace in the Nirvana realm, he was respectfully addressed as Lord D. Zun and was revered by everyone. DMO Xian was also extremely protective. The missing student was related to the Imperial Palace. Diemo Xian naturally snuck into the main courtyard. Now that we know that the principal of the Heavenly Academy is colluding with the dark forces and using the souls of the students as a sacrifice for the King of Darkness to break the seal, what do you intend to do? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips tightly. The things that the dark forces were involved in were no longer just her personal grudges. If Diemo Xian were to intervene, it would be within reason. She would not stubbornly refuse to rely on Diemo Xian, nor would she go against the dark forces to the death. I need evidence. Diemo Xian's slender fingers drew across her tightly pursed lips, forcefully prying open her lips. Now we can confirm one thing: the dark forces are extremely interested in this profound heart jade of yours, towards you as a person. It is very likely that you are the key to unlocking the King of Darkness seal. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly widened. She also forgot to bite the finger that was pressed against her lip. She stared at Diemo Xian in a daze as her heart shook. She knew that the dark forces wanted to get their hands on her profound heart jade. But she had never thought of the reason why the dark forces kept on harassing her, getting close to her and making a move on the people around her. It was because... Chapter 1168. That's just a guess. Diemo Xian lowered his head as he gently kissed her forehead. Don't think too much. Yiqing Luo snuggled into his arms as her arms circled around his firm waist. No matter if I'm the key or not, the profound heart jade in my body, as well as me, is extremely useful to the King of Darkness. Diemo Xian tightened his grip on her slender waist. I'm here. Just 3 simple words made Yiqing Luo's heart feel a sense of stability. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she cupped Diemo Xian's face as her dimples blossomed. Ah Xian, don't worry. I will not give the dark forces any chance to get the profound heart jade. This competition I will definitely win. The two of them looked at each other with tender and sweet feelings. Wind, who was sitting stiffly by the side, bore Supreme Mo's elegant face with a gloomy expression, until his gaze made Yiqing Luo feel uncomfortable. Yiqing Luo then recalled that there was another Wind in the private room. She awkwardly moved away from Diemo Xian's arms as she coughed lightly. She had just moved when the long arm around her waist suddenly increased its strength. Yiqing Luo staggered as she fell into the man's arms behind her. Yiqing Luo's face flushed slightly as her little hand patted Diemo Xian's hand lightly. What else is there? Diemo Xian's large palm caught hold of her moving little hand. His slender fingertips gently scratched the center of her palm. Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder as she stared at the man angrily. Wind turned a blind eye to their flirting as he answered Diemo Xian's question. The Overlord met with an attack in his dormitory. The Imperial Palace's disciples have already intervened. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned when she heard that. She glanced sideways at the man who was hugging her waist and playing with her little hand. The Imperial Palace's disciples intervened? Diemo Xian's thin lips curled slightly as he held her little hand and brought it to his lips. I said before, I will destroy. Wolf. Saint. Force. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed. Those sparkling eyes made her heart beat nonstop with a thump-thump sound. For her to destroy Wolf Saint's forces. For her to provoke the dark forces before she was clear of the dark forces' true power. Just for her. Since Wolf Saint Dharma dared to send people to kill us in the dormitory, he's naturally prepared to become enemies with the Imperial Palace. Diemo Xian looked at the little woman whose eyes were filled with emotions and his lips curled into a magnificent smile. He naturally has to pay the price for his own actions. The Wolf Saint Fa's heart was filled with fear because of Diemo Xian's words. Thinking of striking first to gain the upper hand, he sent Wolf Saint's protectors to surround Yiqing Luo and Diemo Xian, attempting to make them die in the dormitory. But he had never thought that over 100 dark protectors were no match for the two of them. Instead, it gave Diemo Xian an open and above-board reason to annihilate Wolf Saint's forces. As Lord Di Zun, everything he did attracted the attention of all forces. No matter what you do, you need a reason. The Wolf Saint Law took the initiative to send a reason to Dmo Xian. The opportunity could not be missed, and it would not come again. The Overlord was attacked by the dark forces in his dormitory. Such a reason was enough for Dmo Xian to annihilate Wolf Saint's forces. Dmo Xian, the strongest person in the Nirvana realm, was the legend of the Nirvana realm. Dmo Xian was attacked by the dark forces. Wasn't this a blatant slap on the Nirvana realm's face? Then you must be careful. Yiqing Luo didn't stop Dmo Xian's actions. If this matter blew up, it would make the various forces in the Nirvana realm unable to tolerate the arrogance of the dark forces. Everyone would have the same thought. Look, the dark forces even dared to attack our Overlord. Chapter 1169. If it wasn't for the hundreds of dark guardians who blocked her and Dmo Xian's path, Long Yunzhan and the rest wouldn't have to suffer so much on the arena. The dark forces would never be able to experience that. When Kitty Lee followed her scent and found her way to the dormitory, she told her about the situation on the arena. How furious she was in her heart! How vexed! How unresigned! These emotions were tormenting her bit by bit. Those cold-hearted people from the dark forces would never understand her feelings. All along, it was the dark forces who led them by their noses. This time round, they would let Dmo Xian start the first battle. It was time to retaliate. Shangguan residence. The meeting hall was filled with dead silence. Shangguan family's patriarch stood beside the main seat, and a middle-aged man stood beside him with a broken teacup by his feet, swaying slightly. The entire meeting hall was filled with people kneeling on the ground. The one at the front was a woman dressed in luxurious clothes, sobbing as though she was about to stop breathing. Beside that woman was a wooden pole. The person lying on it was Shangguan Liuli, who was covered with wounds and blood. Shangguan Liuli's legs had been crushed and her entire body was covered with Yiqing Luo's profound qi and the actual beating, causing her external and internal injuries to be extremely serious. Lying on the wooden pole, she didn't even have the energy to move. Master. This competition was obviously done by that slut Yiqing Luo. It has nothing to do with our Liuli. The woman cried and screamed at the middle-aged man. This woman was Shangguan Liuli's biological mother, the second wife of the Shangguan family, Madame Li. Shangguan family's patriarch banged the table fiercely. Death is at hand and you still don't know how to repent. After banging the table, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. Listening to Madame Li's crying voice, frustration welled up in his heart. He raised his leg and gave Madame Li a hard kick. Madame Li was in a daze from the kick. The sharp pain in her chest made her react. She immediately screamed and cried till the sky darkened. Master, how can you be so heartless? Liuli had spent so much effort in this competition, you should know better than anyone else. Just lost a competition and Master actually treated your own biological daughter in this way. Liuli's injuries are so serious. Master, are you really going to let Liuli continue to suffer? She questioned him with a sobbing tone. It was as if she was about to put on a show of crying, making a fuss, and threatening to hang herself. The master of the Shangguan clan's face turned gloomy. Soon after, he quickly rushed in front of Madame Li and grabbed her by the collar. Little woman, you don't know the seriousness of this matter. Father, Shangguan Liuli, who was lying on the wooden pole, weakly called out to the Shangguan family master. That pale little face was stained with blood. His turbid eyes were powerless to open. When the head of the Shangguan clan heard the voice, he loosened his grip on Madame Li's collar. His gaze was complicated and pained. He had doted on and protected Shangguan Liuli for so many years. Furthermore, she was his own daughter. How could he not be heartbroken to see her like this? But, this time, Shangguan Liuli had made a huge mistake. Liuli, you've really disappointed me. Do you know that because of you, because of your vanity, the Shangguan family has been completely destroyed? Losing the match didn't matter. A 16-year-old girl. Even if she lost, there were still endless possibilities in the future. But, Chapter 1170. Colluding with the dark forces, using her own soul to obtain the dark secret skill and raise the profound level. This matter. Not only did Shangguan Liuli do whatever it takes to win the interclass competition, it completely turned into, the entire Shangguan family had become the nest of the dark forces. And you useless thing! Master of Shangguan furiously pinched his eyebrows and kicked Butler Shangguan. I asked you to be the representative of Shangguan family, and this is how you solve an emergency? Master of Shangguan's informant had already told him the ins and outs of today's matter. He was clear about Butler Shangguan's magnificent feat today. Now, he could not wait to strangle Butler Shangguan to death. He had completely ruined the reputation of the Shangguan family. It was Butler Shangguan's godly assistance that allowed Shangguan family to be involved with the dark forces. Master! Butler Shangguan fiercely hit the ground. He painfully frowned. Master of Shangguan, spare me, spare me, spare me? I will naturally spare your worthless life. Master of Shangguan gritted his teeth. Letting you die is too easy for you. Butler Shangguan's face instantly turned ashen. Shangguan Liuli, who was lying on the wooden pole, was also frightened by Master of Shangguan's anger, and kept coughing. The blood on her body dripped onto the ground drop by drop. She was in so much pain that tears flew out. Father, I was wrong. I shouldn't have colluded with the dark forces, I shouldn't have been possessed, Shangguan Liuli cried in a low voice. Was this the taste of death? So desperate, so lonely, no, she did not want to die. Shangguan Liuli knew that she could only admit her mistake and use her father's love for her to beg for his forgiveness. As long as the injuries on her body were healed, she would definitely have a chance to make a comeback. She still had a chance to make a comeback. Master of Shangguan family did not respond to Shangguan Liuli's crying. He squinted his cold eagle eyes and stared at his daughter coldly, until Shangguan Liuli's choked sobs gradually turned into fear. He then slowly walked to the wooden pole and bent down with a cold expression on his face. I want to meet the Master of the Dark Forces, can you arrange it? Master of Shangguan family lowered his voice when he asked the last question. It seemed that as long as Shangguan Liuli shook her head, he would break Shangguan Liuli's neck without hesitation. He would never be soft-hearted just because she was his daughter. Shangguan Liuli would never give up her only chance to live. She moved her head painfully and nodded with difficulty. I can. Daddy, I can. By the time Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian stood at the entrance of the private room, they saw at least 40 of the 60 Devil class students, lying drunk on the table or on the ground. There were more than 10 people, although they were not drunk to the point of collapsing on the ground. However, he could no longer remain clear-headed. On the other hand, Long Yunzhan, who was sitting in the middle, had a clear look in his eyes. It was like a unique lotus blossoming amidst the wine fragrance. Qing Luo. Long Yunzhan stood up and looked at the students lying on the ground. They were too happy and drank too much. I'm afraid it's more than one cup. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched helplessly as she looked at the ground full of corpses. She didn't even have a place to land her feet when she walked into the private room. Long Yunzhan shook his head helplessly. Since we've won the preliminary round, they don't need to take part in tomorrow's semifinals. So what if they're drunk? It's a rare occasion. Yiqing Luo had no intention to blame them. She brought them to the biggest restaurant in the West Square and booked a private room to set up a celebratory banquet, so that everyone could relax. Chapter 1171. Let's return to the dormitory later, there are so many people and we can't carry them over. If she summoned Shiju and Chi-Chi and brought them back one by one, the Western continent's topic would change from the Heavenly Academy's interclass competition to the magical beast scene. They had just won the preliminary round. Everything was still low-key. Low-key. After a day of competition, Long Yunzhan was already exhausted. These students probably wouldn't wake up anytime soon. Yiqing Luo let Long Yunzhan rest here, while she and Diamo Xian went to the cabin next door to rest. Long Yunzhan said he was resting, but in actual fact, he needed to observe these drunk students if they would suddenly throw a fit. As for Yiqing Luo, she was really nestled in Diamo Xian's arms and fell into a deep sleep. Early in the morning, she battled with Wolf Saint Law in order to save Yi Fengyu. After that, she battled with hundreds of dark guardians. Following that, she went up the stage to fight with Shangguan Luli. Yiqing Luo was after all a human, and her mortal body was already exhausted. Diamo Xian looked at the young lady in his arms, who was breathing smoothly as his brows overflowed with tenderness and warmth. His slender fingers gently caressed the young lady's cheek. His chest suddenly felt a warm feeling. Diamo Xian frowned as he carefully shifted her body. He saw a ball of white light flickering at Yiqing Luo's heart. The scorching feeling was transmitted from her heart. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's bracelet on her wrist slowly floated. Like pieces of flower petals, Diamo Xian's obsidian-like black eyes flashed slightly. He grabbed her wrist and his fingertips brushed past that cherry blossom petal. The red light formed a boundary and bounced him out. Diamo Xian narrowed his eyes as he recalled the azure dew bracelet's spirit which he had met once before. He retracted his hand and embraced Yiqing Luo in his arms again, as he sighed helplessly. This lass, she was still so desperate. Even when she was tired, she still extracted her spiritual consciousness and entered the azure dew bracelet. She didn't forget to cultivate even when she was resting. She was indeed very Luo. If Yiqing Luo, who was in the azure dew bracelet, knew of Diamo Xian's thoughts, she would definitely cover her face and cry out in injustice. This time, it wasn't her fault. It was old man Tsang who had forcefully summoned her into the azure dew bracelet. The physically and mentally exhausted Yiqing Luo really didn't have the mood to follow old man Tsang to cultivate. She opened her mouth and yawned. "Old man Tsang, why are you looking for me?" Old man Tsang's spiritual body floated to her side and looked around. After confirming that she wasn't seriously injured, he retracted his gaze. Seeing the fatigue in Yiqing Luo's eyes, he didn't beat around the bush. "Regarding the matter of the profound yin qi entering your body some time ago, do you still remember it?" Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled when she heard that. Her eyes, which were filled with fatigue, suddenly became clear. "Have you found out the reason?" Old man Tsang shook his head. "Your internal organs, limbs and bones are all very clean. There is no aura of mysterious yin qi." "No aura of mysterious yin qi?" Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes and opened up her palm to take a look. "Profound yin qi can only control me once? What's the purpose?" She had always thought that the dark forces wanted to play the same trick again. He wanted to manipulate her to hurt his own brother. Then, when he regretted for life, he would grab hold of the darkness in her heart and use it as a lure to make her hand over the profound heart jade. Because that time, the dark force's actions were discovered by the Overlord and he knew that you were vigilant, so... No. Chapter 1172. But even if I did not intentionally suppress my profound grade, I did not feel the existence of profound yin qi. That time when she was controlled by the profound yin qi. It was because of the confrontation with the dark force's assassins. At the same time, to test the strength of the Earth profound 4th grade. After that, she was stimulated by the dark force's assassins with fresh blood, which unknowingly awakened the profound yin qi hidden in her body. Old man Tsang and Diamo Xian had warned her. She tried her best to stabilize her profound grade below Earth profound 4th grade. But today on the stage, she had already released all her strength. Facing Shangguan Luli, she was indeed not worried. She could use the true power of Earth Profound 6th grade. But the 6th level of the Earth Profound realm was not fake after all. If Yiqing Luo did not use Earth Profound 4th grade power to resist, she would not be able to escape under Shangguan Luli's pressure. "I also feel strange." Old man Tsang stared at Yiqing Luo suspiciously. Earth profound 4th grade profound energy, you have released it to the extreme today, but I still did not detect any abnormality on you. You have seen a lot of fresh blood on Shangguan Luli, but there is still no abnormality. Both conditions were met. But Yiqing Luo was not blackened by the profound Yin Qi. What was going on? Could it be that they were overthinking? We cannot relax our vigilance. The dark force's insidiousness, we have all seen it. Yiqing Luo did not feel that things were that simple, nor could she let her guard down. If the dark forces really used her, the other brothers would definitely be like Qiao Jin, who was obsessed with sex. They would not make a move on her. She was not willing to let the dark forces have their way. She could only try her best to avoid this matter from happening. And Luolas. Old man Tsang's face was solemn. You promise me, unless it is a matter of life and death, do not casually use the Purgatory Tower's secret arts. Yiqing Luo was stunned. She immediately recalled Wolf Saint Fa's desire for the Thunder Crash arts in the underground tunnel. She pursed her lips and nodded. I understand. Quite a few people recognized him with a single teleportation. Another Thunder Crash arts was recognized by Wolf Saint Fa. The rewards in the Purgatory Tower. What was he hiding? If you want to practice teleportation or the Thunderclap manual, you can enter the first and second floors of the Purgatory Tower to practice. You can also practice in the spiritual Qi treasured land. Old man Tsang's faintly discernible hand gently covered Yiqing Luo's head. Apparently, he didn't intend to respond to Yiqing Luo's doubt. He only said with a helpless tone, wait until you grow to the point where you have the ability to protect the Azure Dew Bracelet and the Purgatory Tower. Then, you can reveal the Purgatory Tower's secret technique. He paused for a moment and the palm which was rubbing Yiqing Luo's hair also stopped. Lass, can you promise me? She didn't know why, but Yiqing Luo actually heard the undetectable sorrow in Old Man Tsang's tone. She knew that Old Man Tsang was hiding many secrets. If Old Man Tsang didn't say it, it must be for her own good. Because it was exactly as Old Man Tsang had said. Right now, she did not have the ability to know those things. Even if he knew everything, he couldn't change the current situation. She only needed to believe that all of Old Man Tsang's decisions were for her sake and for her own good. Amen, I understand. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. Old Man Tsang stroked her hair again. All right, go and rest. After the competition ends, I will teach you how to display a stronger Thunder Crash art. Chapter 1173. Night had fallen. The stars twinkled and a crescent moon gave off a weak glow as it shone onto the ground. In the dead of the night, the streets were quiet. Yiqing Luo and the rest were wandering in the night, unaffected by the cold moonlight as their emotions were still soaring. At this moment, each of the students were carrying a few wine jars in their hands. Along the way, they left a trail of fragrance. Yiqing Luo, this bunch of drunkards reincarnated? Although she ridiculed in this way. But Yiqing Luo didn't stop these students' excitement. She naturally understood what these students were excited about. In the past 10 over years, these students were all from various large families, various forces or ordinary families who looked down on them. They were trash who could fight and scold. Their innate talent in cultivating the profound grade was not good enough. Their intellect was not good enough and their ability was not good enough. No matter where they went, they would be disdained and ridiculed by those self-proclaimed geniuses. Humiliation, bullying, things which made them lose all their face, they had all suffered it before. Even if they relied on their own strength, tried hard to prove themselves and entered the Heavenly Academy. But they still couldn't get those people's recognition. They were allocated to the Heavenly Academy's trash class, devil class, suffering various students' ridicule and humiliation. This kind of life had never changed. This time, this battle, made them stand in front of everyone again, so that they could openly show off their abilities. They used their own spirit, their own ability, to gain the recognition of various forces. They were not trash. They could finally raise their heads high. No one would ever look down on them again. Because they were the devil class. From the restaurant back to the mansion, they had to pass by the back mountain foot of the mansion. In the middle of the night, they passed by the back mountain foot. The chilly wind blew and it felt like a gust of chilly wind. If one were to ask why they returned to the mansion in the middle of the night. Because Yi Qing Luo nestled in Dmo Xian's arms and fell into a deep sleep. In an instant, she slept till the middle of the night. Dmo Xian just hugged her like that, not moving for several hours, but didn't wake her up. Yi Qing Luo was rather helpless. They were students who were going to take part in the competition, so it was not right to not return at night. Immediately, he rushed to the private room next door and kicked all the students in the room up. Dmo Xian still had to deal with the attack on his dormitory, as well as devising an open and above-board plan to destroy Wolf Saint's forces, so he left first. The group of devil class immediately rushed towards the dormitory. And these people didn't forget to continue drinking wine from the wine jars before they left. Along the way there was laughter and chatter, and the atmosphere was quite pleasant. After making a detour around the foot of the mountain breeze blew over, and Zhang Xian could vaguely smell a strange scent in the air. Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed. Almost instinctively, her fingertips moved and the glowing flame fan stirred up a hurricane, enveloping all the devil class students within it. The hurricane directly cut off the strange aura coming from the air. Qing Luo. Long Yunzhan immediately moved and walked to Yi Qing Luo's side, leaning back to back with her as he surveyed the surroundings vigilantly. Be careful. Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth calmly as she turned back and took a look at the bunch of drunken youngsters. Sense how many people the other party has, this bunch of stinky brats, I'm afraid they have no way to battle. Long Yunzhan nodded lightly. He narrowed his blue eyes and released his perception. Yi Qing Luo also took the opportunity to take out a handful of medicinal powder from the profound phoenix ring. As the glowing flame fan waved, that medicinal powder directly swept over every single youngster's face. Chapter 1174. Yi Qing Luo then kept her glower flame fan. After the hurricane dissipated, the strange smell that permeated the surrounding air grew even denser. There are about 300 people coming, and there are 2 earth-profound practitioners among them. Long Yunzhan opened his eyes. 300 people? Yi Qing Luo frowned. He actually spent so much money. Were they from the dark forces? No, before the competition, the 100 dark guardians sent by the Wolf Saint Law had already died in Dmo Xian's hands. To the dark forces this was a huge loss, especially now that the Imperial Palace had gotten involved with the dark forces. The dark forces would never have the energy to trouble her again. Not waiting for Yi Qing Luo to think carefully. From all directions, people dressed in black martial arts attire had already surged forward. In an instant it surrounded the 60-odd people in Devil Class. Devil Class, hand over your life. A furious berating was heard, and one of the black-robed men wielding a huge axe directly chopped down towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. That move had clearly released all the power in his body. This voice, Butler Shangguan? That's right. This voice was none other than Butler Shangguan's. At the end of the competition, Butler Shangguan confronted her. Yi Qing Luo remembered this voice. These people were from the Shangguan family. It was obvious that they had been lying in ambush for a long time. Yi Qing Luo, do you really think that you can be arrogant and complacent just because you won against our 5th miss? Butler Shangguan saw that he had been discovered and simply couldn't be bothered to cover his face. He directly tore off the black cloth on his face and sneered, "Tonight, I will avenge our 5th miss. For the Shangguan family." Butler Shangguan snickered. His eyes were filled with unconcealable hatred. It was this girl. It was her who had caused him to fall from his position as a steward to a slave who had signed a death contract. She was the one who caused Shangguan Liuli to be banished to the cold courtyard from the position of the future head of the Shangguan family. No one cared about her. She had destroyed his idea of cozying up to Shangguan Liuli. It also made him completely understand. It turned out that he had hugged the wrong leg. It was her who had caused the Shangguan family to suffer from rumors and slanders. He even asked the other families to join hands and forcefully search the Shangguan family. Except for Shangguan Liuli's courtyard, there was no aura of the dark forces in the entire Shangguan mansion. However, they still managed to find a lot of rare items from the Shangguan mansion. Furthermore, there were some rare items that belonged to other aristocratic families. Immediately, another storm was set off. This action was obviously a humiliation to the Shangguan family. Now, the Shangguan family had become a family that anyone could humiliate. If he didn't kill Yiqing Luo, how would he vent his anger? Butler Shangguan, this is the mountain behind the dormitory. If you use your profound energy to attack me, then it will attract the attention of the academy and they will rush over. Yiqing Luo's eyes were curved, but she couldn't conceal her chilly intent. Your Shangguan family's record of humiliation has added another stroke. You. Butler Shangguan gnashed his teeth in anger. Murderous aura wandered wantonly in his eyes. A barrier has already been set up all around. None of you can escape. No one could enter. I'd like to see if it'll be those old fogies from the academy rushing over, or if we'll kill all of you first. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding 300 over Shangguan family's men pounced towards Yiqing Luo's direction. The pitch-black sky was faintly covered with a layer of blood color. It covered the bright moon in the sky. A few dim stars flickered weakly.